Chapter 748. 748 Chapter 748 Powerful Counterattack. In the outside world, the others were also a little stunned. Earlier, Jiang Taishu, Wang Zhu, and Luan Zhan had led nearly 80 experts from the three great ancient families to kill Lu Ming. In the end, dozens of them had died, and the rest were surrounded by Lu Ming's group of 4. This scene was destined to be a big joke in the East continent. At this moment, Jiang Taishu, Wang Zhu, and Luan Zhan all had extremely ugly expressions. They could not wait to turn Lu Ming and the other 3 into ashes. They knew that after today, they would definitely become a laughingstock and would be looked down upon by the other top 1,000 talents. They might even lose in the competition between their families. In each of the 6 great ancient families, they weren't the only chosen. Each of them had to bravely step forward, trampling over the other chosen before they could take control of the ancient family. However, if today's situation were to spread out, they would probably not have another chance. How could they not hate him? How could they not be angry? Jiang Taishu, what's wrong? You guys aren't going to make a move. If that's the case, you guys won't be able to get first place. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Lu Ming, I swear that from now on, there will be no place for you in the East Baron. Jiang Taishu roared. Ha, Jiang Taishu, don't flatter yourself. Do you think the Jiang family will send their elders to stand up for you after your performance today? Lu Ming sneered. Jiang Taishu gritted his teeth. He knew that Lu Ming was right. He could only use his own energy if he wanted to find trouble with Lu Ming. However, I don't want to just let it go like this. You're courting death. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. I'll definitely take back the lives of the Golden Sword sect's 9 disciples. Today, I'll definitely kill you. Ha, Lu Ming, you're only relying on your speed to escape. Do you dare to fight me head-on? Jiang Taishu sneered. As you wish. Lu Ming stepped forward, his long hair flying in the wind and his fighting spirit soaring. Just now, he had successfully weakened the strength of Jiang Taishu and the others. Now, it was time for a head-on battle. Lu Ming, leave the Wang family to me. I'll hold them back. Xian Yanqing's figure moved and appeared in front of Wang Zhu and the others. Miss Xia, I'll go with you. Jian Filiu appeared beside Xian Yanqing, intending to assist her. Brother Kong, how about delaying the chaotic family? Lu Ming looked at Kong Jin. Ha, leave it to me. I'll let them know how powerful I am. Kong Jin grinned. Lu Ming could not see through Kong Jin. He felt that it was extremely powerful and gave him a sense of danger. There were very few people of the same level that could give Lu Ming a sense of danger. Although Luan Zhan was strong, he was not one of the top 10 Heavenly Kings from the last Heavenly King competition. He was ranked 602nd on the list of top 1,000 talents, which was slightly weaker than Jiang Taishu and Wang Zhu. Kong Jin should be able to stall for a while. Lu Ming, on the other hand, was facing Jiang Taishu and the other Jiang family experts alone. He wanted to kill Jiang Taishu. The others in the outside world were also extremely shocked. Lu Ming and the rest were going to take the initiative and attack aggressively. It was unbelievable. One had to know that the peak-tier king tiers of the 3 great families were all experts. Some of them were existences that could compete for the top 108, but they actually wanted to launch an attack with only 4 people. This had never happened before in history. Interesting. Even spirit embryo realm experts like Dongfang Hao and Enlightened 3 Corps revealed looks of anticipation. Sky Devil Force Field. Xian Yanqing made the first move, and the Sky Demon Force Field enveloped Wang Zhu and the others. The Wang clan only had 6 people left. However, they were all experts. Do it! Wang Zhu shouted. The 6 men from the Wang family were like 6 blazing suns, trying to break through the demonic power field and rush towards Xian Yanqing. However, in the Sky Demon power field, a terrifying cutting power burst out. Other than Wang Zhu, it was extremely difficult for others to break it. With a dazzling golden light, Jian Filiu rushed into the sky demon power field. He didn't attack Wang Ju, but kept wandering in the sky demon power field. The sharp sword light kept stabbing at the other 5 people, hindering their movements. As for Xian Yanqing, he used the sky demon hand to attack Wang Ju. Wang Ju was at a disadvantage and was suppressed by Xian Yanqing. Ha, watch me, heaven-suppressing demonic axe. Kong Jin laughed loudly. His fat body actually swelled up again. The battle axe in his hand, which was as big as a door, madly chopped toward the members of the Wan family. Boom! Boom! Kong Jin stepped in the air, causing the space to tremble. Each of his axe strikes seemed to be able to split open the sky and destroy everything. 8 rebellious slashes. In chaotic battle, he displayed the ultimate technique of the Wan family. One strike after another, and finally, 8 strikes converged into one strike, which collided with the battle axe that had advanced. However, the moment they clashed, Wan Zhan's saber trembled violently and almost exploded. His body was sent flying back like a cannonball, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Wan Zhan, who was ranked 602nd on the list of top 1,000 talents, spat out a mouthful of blood after being hit by Kong Jin's axe. Earth concept and shattering concept. Wan Zhan shouted in disbelief. Kong Jin had actually cultivated 2 extremely terrifying mentalities, the Earth mentality and the Shattering mentality. Moreover, both of them were at the 2nd level and had been successfully fused. How terrifying was it to have 2 special intents successfully fused together? Ha, die! Kong Jin wielded a battle axe the size of a door and charged toward the Wan family. Kong Jin killed several people in a row, and no one could stop him. Let's join forces and kill him. Chaotic battle roared. The Heavenly King's Steel world was a pure martial arts world. They couldn't even form a battle formation. They could only gather everyone's power to fight against the void. Nearly 30 masters of the chaotic family attacked at the same time, and dozens of attacks poured toward Kong Jin. Nest, there are too many people. It's not easy to fight. The air advance battle axe was waved, forming an iron wall to block the attack. The fat on his body trembled non-stop. They would then look for an opportunity to counterattack. The members of the Wan family did not dare to be distracted. They could only gather together and attack Kong Jin continuously. Otherwise, Kong Jin would seize the opportunity to counterattack and kill one of them. The Wang clan and the Wan clan were both held back. Jiang Taishu's expression turned even uglier. Kill! Lu Ming did not waste any more time. He strode forward, and his aura burst out one after another. In the end, 4 kinds of intent surrounded his body, raising his aura to the limit. Let's join hands. Jiang Taishu shouted. With him as the leader, the remaining dozen or so Jiang family experts joined forces and charged toward Lu Ming. Suppress the heavens and earth. I'm invincible. Lu Ming let out a long howl and used the prison-suppressing heavenly art to strike out with his palm. Boom! A dazzling light flashed. The joint attack of the Jiang family was actually dispersed by Lu Ming's palm. Lu Ming advanced again and struck out with his palm. Bang! An old man's palm collided with Lu Ming's. He let out a blood-curdling screech as his body was torn into pieces. How can he be so strong? Jiang Taishu cried out in disbelief. Last time, I didn't use my full strength and you managed to escape. This time, you will die. Lu Ming let out a long howl and continuously struck out with his palms. The last time, Lu Ming had only used 2 intense wind and thunder. This time, he had used all 4 intents. Lu Ming's combat strength had reached its peak. Bang! Bang! 2 more elders were split into pieces by Lu Ming. Chapter 749. 749 Killing Jiang Taishu. Kill him. Jiang Taishu seized the opportunity and slashed his palm at Lu Ming's waist like a heavenly knife. However, Lu Ming did not dodge. His spine twisted like a dragon and shook slightly, clashing with Jiang Taishu's palm. Bang! With a dull boom, Jiang Taishu's body trembled and he was forced to retreat. Impossible! Jiang Taishu cried out in disbelief. His palm, which could break through everything, hit Lu Ming's waist. Not only did it not cut Lu Ming into two, but it was also forced back by Lu Ming. How was this possible? How could he know the marvels of the prison-suppressing heavenly art? Not only could the prison-suppressing heaven technique be cultivated to the hands and feet, but it could also be cultivated to the other parts of the body. At the highest level, every muscle in the body would be able to unleash the immense power of the prison-suppressing heaven technique, suppressing everything. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's prison-suppressing heaven technique had made further progress. Not only could he attack with his hands and feet, but he could also attack with his waist. Just now, he had used the prison-suppressing heaven technique with his waist and forced Jiang Taishu back. What a terrifying bloodline martial technique! It must be a demigod-level bloodline martial technique. Dong Fenghao's eyes glowed as he spoke slowly. Demigod-level bloodline martial technique? It's really terrifying. Many people exclaimed. Generally speaking, to comprehend a demigod-level martial technique from the bloodline, one would need to be at Sea of Soul realm and above. Moreover, it was very difficult for ordinary bloodlines. Only those with divine bloodlines could easily comprehend demigod-level bloodline martial techniques. In order to unleash the power of a demigod-level martial technique, one would need to be at least at the Sea of Soul realm. At the king's realm, one's Xin Yuan would not be strong enough, so they would not be able to unleash much power. However, it was obvious that Lu Ming had comprehended a demigod-level bloodline martial art technique when he was only in the king's realm. Kill! Lu Ming's left hand burst out with a terrifying devouring power that enveloped the Jiang family members. His right hand was like a prison-suppressing steel that pressed down. Enveloped by the devouring power, the members of the Jiang family felt that their bloodline power was unstable, and their blood essence was faintly throbbing. Their combat strength had weakened even more. Bang! Bang! With one palm and one kick, Lu Ming killed two Jiang family experts. In just a few breaths, Lu Ming had killed 6 Jiang family experts. He was extremely ferocious. How can he be so strong? How can he be so strong? Jiang Taishu's eyes were wide open, as if he could not accept this. Jiang Taishu has lost his will to fight. He's definitely going to lose. Someone sighed. Run! Run! This man is a monster. Run! Jiang Taishu suddenly shouted. His confidence had completely collapsed. He turned around and ran toward the exit. The exit was like a door. Once one ran in, they would be transported out. You can't run away. Lu Ming took a step forward and his body was like a stream of light. He caught up with Jiang Taishu in a few moments and struck his palm at Jiang Taishu. Bang! Jiang Taishu was sent flying. He coughed up blood and his eyes were full of fear. Save me, save me. Wang Ju, fight back, save me. Jiang Taishu shouted. At this moment, he no longer had his previous arrogance and the ambition he had before the start of the Heavenly King ranking battle. He was simply like a pitiful rat crossing the street, a pitiful worm. Right now, he didn't want anything but to live. However, at this moment, how could Wang Ju and Ni Zhan save him? They themselves were extremely shocked. Buzz! Whoosh! At this moment, a group of figures flew over and stopped in the distance. First Ghost, save me. Let's work together and kill this man. Did you see how much chi he has? With him around, you won't be able to get first place. Jiang Taishu shouted madly. The people who came later were the experts of the Heavenly Corpse sect. The leader was a young man who was covered in a black robe. His eyes were full of ghostly chi. First Ghost's eyes swept across and he was shocked. However, when he saw the steel chi in the Heavenly King's steel's shadow above Lu Ming's head, his eyes flashed with killing intent. Lu Ming's monument chi was much more than his. Not only Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and even Kong Jin had more monument chi than him. First Ghost was also one of the 10 Heavenly Kings of the last Heavenly King list, ranked 9th. He wanted to get first place too. First Ghost, hurry up and attack. If this man rises up, it will be bad for your Heavenly Corpse sect. Jiang Taishu shouted. Shameless. In the outside world, many people looked down on him. Jiang Taishu was too shameless. He actually wanted to join forces with GUIE to kill Lu Ming, and the reason was that Lu Ming's rise would be detrimental to the Heavenly Corpse sect. Jiang Taishu was a member of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, and so was Lu Ming. This caused the anger of many people from the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace to soar to the heavens. The Empyrean Heavenly Divine Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect were mortal enemies. Dong Feng Hao and the others also shook their heads. Jiang Taishu's words would definitely be punished when they got back to the Jiang family. Jiang Taishu also knew that he would be despised and disdained if these words were spread, but he had no choice. What was more important than his life now? Bang! He was struck by Lu Ming's palm again. His arm, which was harder than a spirit weapon, was shattered. First Ghost, attack! Jiang Taishu roared. First Ghost's eyes flashed and he was about to step forward. First Ghost, I advise you not to make a move. Even I'm not sure if I can defeat this person. Suddenly, a figure appeared beside First Ghost and a hoarse voice came out. It was the Corpse King. Even you don't have the confidence to defeat him. First Ghost's eyes were filled with horror. Yes, didn't you see how miserable Jiang Taishu was? If you make a move, you might die here. It's better for us to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. The Corpse King said in a hoarse voice. First Ghost let out a long breath and took a few steps back, but he didn't attack. Ah! Jiang Taishu shouted in despair. Jiang Taishu, no one can save you today. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with cold killing intent. Lu Ming, spare me. I'm the Jiang family's supreme talent. Killing me won't do you any good. Spare me. Jiang Taishu finally began to beg for mercy. It's even worse for me to spare you. Kill. The terrifying devouring power enveloped Jiang Taishu and his palm struck down. Bang! Half of Jiang Taishu's body had exploded, and he was only left with half a breath. His eyes were full of despair and pleading. Lu Ming did not move. He took a step forward and Jiang Taishu was torn into pieces. Jiang Taishu, who was ranked 6th on the previous Heavenly King ranking and was thought to be number 1, was killed by Lu Ming. The devouring power burst out and Jiang Taishu's blood essence was devoured. Currently, devouring the blood essence of a peak-tier king was not of much help to Lu Ming, but it was better than nothing. Retreat, retreat, we'll retreat. At this moment, Wang Ju, Wan Zhan, and the others no longer had the will to fight. They retreated frantically and flew toward the exit. Jiang Taishu was dead, and the rest of the Jiang family had escaped. Even if they stayed, they would probably end up in a miserable state. Wang Ju took the lead and broke through Xian Yanqing's sky demon force field, flying toward the exit. The other members of the Wang family followed suit. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the room. He took a step forward and turned into a stream of light, rushing toward the Wang family. Boom! Before he had even arrived, a fist radiance was blasted out, blocking one of the Wang family members. This person was Wang Mie. Chapter 750. 750 The Strongest Esper. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Wang Mie shouted, his face pale. What are you doing? Didn't you and Wang Mang join forces to knock me down the abyss when we were challenging the Heavenly King tablet? I'm a person who bears grudges. Lu Ming sneered, his eyes filled with killing intent. The other members of the Wang clan couldn't care less about Wang Mia as they all rushed to the exit. No, no, that was a moment of folly. Please, please let me go. Wang Mia's face turned pale and he almost peed his pants. Lu Ming was a devil and a ruthless man. He did not even let Jiang Taishu off. He had no fear of the Jiang family, so why would he be afraid of the Wang family? Therefore, he did not dare to mention the Wang family and could only beg for mercy. It's too late. Lu Ming took a step forward and struck out with his palm. Ah, I'll fight you to the death. Seeing that begging for mercy was useless, Wang Mia could only go all out. However, facing Lu Ming who had unleashed his strongest combat strength, his outcome was already set. With a single palm, it was torn into pieces. The storage ring and blood essence would belong to Lu Ming. Of course, there was also the steel chi. At this moment, the Wan family, Wang Ju, and the others had already rushed into the door and disappeared. This Lu Ming is quite bold. He's not giving the Wang family any face at all. In the outside world, Wang Yan licked his lips as a hint of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Jiang Taichung's expression was also not good. In his opinion, no matter how weak Jiang Taishu was, he was still the Jiang family's chosen warrior. Lu Ming had killed Jiang Taishu in front of everyone, which was an insult to the Jiang family. In the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, how many people would dare to not give face to the ancient aristocratic families? This made them feel embarrassed. In their position, they didn't care about the life and death of Jiang Taishu and Wang Mia, but it was a great sin to ignore the ancient families and embarrass them. This Lu Ming previously said in public that the Wang family was nothing. He alone is an ancient family. An old man from the Wang family walked up to Wang Yan. One person is an ancient family, and you speak so arrogantly. You're just a mere king tier. No matter how strong your battle power is, what's the use? When faced with a stronger opponent, he would be able to suppress them with a single hand. Wang Yan's eyes flashed with anger. He really doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Jiang Taichung also spoke. Naturally, Lu Ming did not know that 2 top 100 talents on the list of top 1,000 talents had appeared outside. He also did not know that he had already offended them. However, even if he knew, he would not care. His eyes looked in the direction of the Heavenly Corpse sect. He didn't have a good impression of the Sky Corpse sect. If he had the chance, he wouldn't mind killing a few geniuses of the Sky Corpse sect. Thump. The Corpse King stepped out, shaking the earth and sky. Corpse chi filled his body, flowing like liquid. His eyes were filled with ferocity and a strong fighting spirit. Lu Ming, you're very strong. I'm not sure if I can defeat you in a real battle. However, this is only the Heavenly King ranking. You and I are both in the King's realm. In the face of the Battle of Providence, this is just a small fight. We'll meet in the Battle of Providence. How about it? The Corpse King's hoarse voice sounded. The Battle of Karmic Luck. Good. I hope you won't disappoint me when the time comes. Lu Ming said, his eyes full of fighting spirit. This King Corpse gave him a sense of danger. He was definitely a terrifying opponent that Jiang Taishu couldn't compare with. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Don't die before the Battle of Kismet. There aren't many good opponents. The Corpse King then looked at Xian Yanqing and Kong Jin. His eyes were also filled with battle intent. Then, he strode towards the exit. As the Corpse King stepped in, the others also followed and disappeared into the portal. After a while, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and the other 2 stepped into the portal. The next moment, they appeared outside the Heavenly King monument, at the edge of the abyss. Lu Ming, look. There are names on the Divine King monument. Xian Yanqing said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming looked back. As expected, golden names had appeared on the steel. They were the rankings of the Heavenly King ranking battle. Lu Ming's name was written on the first place. Lu Ming, first place. Without a doubt, Lu Ming had obtained the most qi. He had killed many experts from the Jiang and Wang family and even Jiang Taishu, obtaining all their qi. His steel qi had already far surpassed the others. Second place, Xian Yinqing. This was not surprising. Previously, Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing had joined forces to kill many experts from the Jiang and Wang families. Xian Yinqing had also obtained a lot of steel qi. Third place, Corpse King. Fourth place, Kong Jin. Fifth place, Dong Fangyu. Sixth place, Jiuye. Seventh place, Wang Zhu. On it, a series of rankings appeared. Jian Filiu also appeared on the ranking, entering the top 108. On the other side of the abyss, there were more than 100,000 people looking in this direction. Their eyes were filled with all sorts of emotions. There was envy, jealousy, hatred, and so on. Let's go. After Lu Ming was born, the four of them flew across the abyss. Above their heads, there was still the Heavenly King Steel's illusionary shadow floating. This kind of Heavenly King Steel's illusionary shadow could help them ascend the dark red steps at the top of the first Heavenly King Steel without being pressured or attacked. When Lu Ming and the rest came over, the crowd took the initiative to make way for them. The combat strength of Lu Ming's group of four had become stronger. With just the four of them, they had actually defeated the joint attack of nearly 80 experts from the Jiang, Wang, and Luan families. It was truly unbelievable. Many people looked at them with respect in their eyes. Although they were all peak-tier kings, Lu Ming and the rest were much stronger than the others. Boom! Boom! At this moment, two vast and incomparable pressures suddenly pressed down on Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Kong Jin, and Jian Filiu's expressions changed drastically. They unleashed their powers to resist the attack. Even so, the four of them trembled and kept retreating. Jian Filiu, in particular, was coughing up blood. Bang! Lu Ming circulated the true war dragon technique in his body. He stomped on the ground and stabilized himself. He looked up. In the sky, two young men stepped through the air. One of them was covered in purple flames like a purple sun, emitting a terrifying temperature. The other one showed off his abilities, like a peerless divine weapon. The Jiang family and the Wang family. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It was easy to distinguish the aura that the two of them emitted. Could it be that Jiang Taichong and Wang Yan are going to make a move on Lu Ming and the rest? They're the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents. Their cultivation has long reached an extremely high level. Lu Ming and the others are only in the king's realm. It's a little unreasonable for them to fight against a king's realm expert with their cultivation, right? It's hard to say. After all, Lu Ming just killed Jiang Taishu and many experts from the two families. Whispers could be heard from the surroundings. Lu Ming, how dare you kill the Jiang family's prodigy? Do you know your crime? Jiang Taichong's eyes shot out two beams of sharp light like two divine swords. Life and death are determined by fate in the Heavenly King's steel. It's meant to kill each other and seize the steel qi. If we can't kill the people from the ancient families, is there still a need to hold the Heavenly King ranking battle in the future? Lu Ming was fearless. His eyes were like lightning as he shouted. Chapter 751. 751 The Dignity of an Ancient Family. Jiang Taichong frowned slightly when he heard Lu Ming's rebuttal. Lu Ming, you're right. The Divine King Monument does not prohibit killing. They died in battle because they were incompetent. However, let me ask you, one person is an ancient family. Have you ever said this? Wang Yan stood in mid-air, purple flames shimmering as a terrifying temperature emanated from him. The people nearby kept retreating, unable to withstand the terrifying temperature. I did. Lu Ming's answer was simple and clear. Ha ha ha, laughable, truly laughable. Wang Yan laughed out loud, his eyes shining as though two small suns had appeared in them. You're really stupid and ignorant. Do you know what an ancient family represents? He actually said that he is comparable to an ancient family. He really doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. That's right. You think that you're so arrogant just because you have some combat strength, but in fact, you're just an ignorant fool. No matter how strong you are, you're just a martial king. A martial king can only do odd jobs in the ancient family. There are countless people in the ancient family who can kill you. Any one of them can suppress you with a single palm strike. Jiang Taichung also sneered. I can't do it now, but that doesn't mean I can't do it in the future. Lu Ming's gaze was firm, persistent, and full of confidence. Future. Let me tell you, in the eyes of the true geniuses of the East Continent, the so-called Heavenly King ranking battle is just a child's play, not worth mentioning. The real competition among the Eastern Continent's geniuses is above the martial king realm. The Battle of Providence in a year's time is the real battlefield of the geniuses, and you don't even have the right to interfere. Wang Yan's voice was filled with faint disdain. Wang Yan, there's no need to waste your breath on them. I'll let them understand right now how insignificant they are in front of the ancient family. They're even less than ants. Jiang Taichung took a step forward, and the aura on his body exploded with a bang. It was extremely terrifying. It was as if countless divine swords had gathered around his body, emitting sharp glints. Each glinted was a divine sword that pressed down on Lu Ming and the rest. At this moment, Lu Ming and the others trembled violently. Their protective true energy was completely useless as it was directly pierced through by the sharp light. It was as if their bodies were going to be pierced through with holes. Strong, he was too strong. Jiang Taichung was definitely not an ordinary spiritual ocean tier warrior. He had already walked a long way in the spiritual ocean tier. No matter how strong Lu Ming and the rest were, they were only at the martial king realm. The difference was too great, so great that they could not resist. No matter how strong a martial king is, he's still an ant in front of absolute strength. Jiang Taichung looked down at the crowd, his voice cold and aloof. I will definitely kill you in the battle of karmic luck. Lu Ming let out a long howl. Four-colored concepts surrounded him as he tried his best to resist. Killing me in the battle of Providence? What a joke. Jiang Taichung sneered, and the aura on his body grew stronger. Buzz. At that moment, the Heavenly King tablet's shadow above Lu Ming's head suddenly shook and emitted a bright light. At the same time, Xian Yanqing, Kong Jin, and Jian Filiu's Heavenly King steel shadows also trembled and shone brightly. The four people's lights gathered together. At this moment, behind the four of them, opposite the abyss, the Heavenly King steel was also glowing. A huge shadow of the Heavenly King steel suddenly appeared above the four of them. Boom! The Heavenly King steel's shadow shook and dispersed Jiang Taichung's aura. Jiang Taishu took a few steps back and looked at the huge Heavenly King steel's shadow with an ugly expression. Their pressure had caused the Heavenly King tablet to move. A terrifying aura erupted from Wang Yan's body and pressed forward. However, he immediately followed in Jiang Taichung's footsteps and was forced to retreat. The Divine Monument's protection, Jiang Taichung snorted coldly. You're lucky this time, Lu Ming. If you're really confident, go to the Sky Martial region or Nine Dragons. By then, you'll understand the true strength of the ancient families. You'll also understand what a true heaven's favorite is and how insignificant you are. Wang Yan swept a glance at Lu Ming and the rest as he spoke indifferently. With that, he turned around, took a step forward, and disappeared. Jiang Taichung also turned around and left. This time, they did not really intend to make a move on Lu Ming and the rest. Just as the crowd had guessed, with their cultivation, they could suppress Lu Ming and the rest with one hand. The difference was too great. If they made a move, they would instead end up with a reputation of bullying the weak. They only wanted to intimidate Lu Ming and the rest, to let them and everyone else understand the dignity and power of the ancient families. At the same time, it also proved their own strength. No matter how strong a martial king was, he was still a martial king. They were all under 30 years old, but they had already gone far beyond the level of a martial king. Now that they had achieved their goal, they naturally left. Is the top 100 on the list of top 1,000 talents that great? I'll surpass them one by one sooner or later. Kong Jin snorted coldly in dissatisfaction. He took out a lamb leg and started gnawing on it. He wondered how many roast lamb legs this guy had in reserve. Lu Ming did not say a word, but his eyes revealed a strong fighting spirit. Before he had the ability, it was useless to say anything. However, as Kong Jin had said, he would surpass them one day. Lu Ming believed that that day would not be too far away. One person was comparable to an ancient family. This was only Lu Ming's initial goal and he had to achieve it. If he could not even do this, how could he compete with the #1 martial emperor? Let's go. We'll cultivate on the Heavenly King's tablet steps. Lu Ming said and strode forward. The four of them walked towards the first Heavenly King tablet. When he arrived at the bottom of the Heavenly King tablet, he realized that there were already some people on it. The Corpse King was sitting cross-legged on the 26th step. Wang Ju, First Ghost, and a few others were sitting cross-legged on the 25th step. There were a total of 27 steps on the Heavenly King's stele. The 21st to 27th steps were dark red and were the rewards for the top 108 on the Heavenly King list. Only they could go up. Only the first place could go up to the highest 27th step. The 26th step could be reached by the 2nd to 4th place. On the 25th step, the 5th to 10th place would be able to go up. On the 24th step, the 11th to 20th place can go up. The last 38 would be able to reach the 21st step. The 108 spots were distributed on the 7 steps. Lu Ming rose into the air and flew to the top of the stairs. Above his head, the Heavenly King's steel's illusionary shadow scattered down rays of light that enveloped Lu Ming. Without the protection of the Heavenly King's steel, only death awaited them if they ascended the dark red steps. Bang! Lu Ming landed on the highest step. In an instant, he felt an extremely strong sense of all kinds of concepts. He even felt that there were experts fighting and cultivating. There was an imprint left behind by a supreme expert on the Heavenly King's stele. No one knew when the Heavenly King's stele was left behind. It had been standing there for countless years. Throughout history, many martial royal realm experts had wanted to move it away and take it for themselves, but none of them had been able to do so. That was why he had stayed here. Lu Ming immediately sat cross-legged, captured various concepts, and began to comprehend them. The various traces of intent here were much stronger than the stairs below. Lu Ming was the first to capture a wisp of the concept of fire. In an instant, the world changed. He saw a tall figure practicing the concept of fire. His every movement was extremely mysterious. Chapter 752. 752 Super Spirit C. Xian Yanqing, Kong Jin, and the others also flew up the stairs and began to cultivate. Not long after, the top 108 had all arrived. They all sat cross-legged on the top 7 steps. They had half a month's time to cultivate. After half a month, the Heavenly King monument would return to its ordinary state and lose its mysterious effects. It would only open again after 3 years. Time passed by quickly. 3 days later, Lu Ming's fire concept broke through in one go and reached beginner level 2. Then, he turned to comprehend the essence of the earth. It was much more difficult to cultivate the essence of the earth. Lu Ming spent 10 days before he managed to break through to level 2. Since then, Lu Ming's 4 concepts of heaven and earth had all broken through to level 2. He had met the requirements to enter the Spirit Sea realm. Lu Ming could enter the Spirit Sea realm at any time. At this time, 13 days had passed, and there were only 2 days left. Lu Ming planned to continue comprehending the Earth mentality in the next 2 days. The Earth mentality was the most difficult to cultivate, so Lu Ming had to seize this opportunity. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. His Earth mentality had also made some progress and had reached the middle stage of the second level. Half a month's time was almost up. Buzz! At this moment, a message rushed into Lu Ming's mind. Lu Ming was stunned. He thought about it carefully and was overjoyed. The information that rushed into Lu Ming's mind was actually a secret skill. The secret skill was called Super Spirit Sea. That's right, the name was Super Spirit Sea. According to the information inside, if a Sea of Soul realm martial artist cultivated this secret technique, the area of their Sea of Soul would be twice as large as others. The spiritual ocean of the spiritual ocean realm was twice as large as others, which meant that the storage of true essence was twice as strong as others, and thus, the battle power was naturally stronger. He had heard before that the first place on the Heavenly King ranking would have special rewards that could be obtained from the Heavenly King monument. Some were martial arts techniques, some were cultivation methods, and some were secret skills. Lu Ming had obtained a secret skill. This was also the reason why Jiang Taishu and the others were so determined to fight for the first place. With a secret technique like the Super Spirit Sea, he would have an advantage among the elites of the Spirit Sea realm. Good. My genuine yuan is already much stronger than ordinary people. With the Super Spirit Sea secret skill, my advantage will be even stronger. Lu Ming laughed heartily in his heart. Although the 6 great ancient clans also cultivated God-grade cultivation techniques, each God-grade cultivation technique specialized in a different direction. For example, after cultivating the Wang family sky-burning flame technique, one's true energy would be like heavenly fire, capable of burning everything. However, the density of the true energy was definitely not as high as the true War Dragon technique. The true War Dragon technique leaned towards rich true essence. The combination of the Super Spirit Sea and the true War Dragon technique was a perfect match. All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt that the Heavenly King Steel's illusionary shadow above his head had disappeared. He could no longer feel any pressure or artistic conception. The time was up and the Heavenly King Steel had returned to its ordinary state. At this moment, everyone on the stairs opened their eyes. Let's go. Wang Ju and the rest took a glance at Lu Ming and the others before they hurriedly flew away, as if afraid that Lu Ming would attack them. The Corpse King and the rest of the Heavenly Corpse sect also stood up and left. Lu Ming, how's the harvest? Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming. Not bad. Yes. Lu Ming nodded and asked, have you made a breakthrough in your concepts? I've broken through. Next, I'll be breaking through to the spiritual ocean tier. Xian Yanqing said. I'm also going to break through to the spiritual ocean tier. Kong Jin grinned. I'm also planning to break through to the spirit ocean realm. Jian Filiu also said. This time, many people had made great progress. After the Battle of the Heavenly King list, many people would probably choose to break through to the Sea of Soul realm, such as Wang Ju and the Corpse King. After all, the War of Providence was getting closer and closer. There was only a year and 3 months left. The Battle of Karmic Luck was the key. Alright, let's find a place to break through then. Lu Ming smiled. Right now, he had almost accumulated enough supreme-grade spirit crystals. He had to break through to the spiritual ocean tier. Only by breaking through to the spiritual ocean tier would he be able to compete with those top talents on the list of top 1,000 talents. The 4 of them rose into the air and flew away. The 4 of them did not fly toward the city, but toward the wilderness. I say, brother-in-law, what good stuff did you get on the top step? Kong Jin's eyes sneaked a glance at Lu Ming. Fatty, you're not allowed to call him brother-in-law, and you're also not allowed to call me little sister. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth and looked at Kong Jin with a dark expression. Kong Jin shivered and said, "There's no need to do this. If I call you that, isn't it just to make you feel closer? If I don't call you that, what else can I do? Whatever you want, call me by my name." Xian Yanqing said through gritted teeth. All right. Fatty Kong Jin pulled a long face. He then looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, you haven't told me what good stuff you got." "It's indeed a good thing." Lu Ming smiled and did not hide anything. He said, "It's a secret technique that can double the area of the spirit ocean after cultivating it in the spirit ocean realm." What? Xian Yanqing and Jian Filiu were both shocked. "Ha, Lu Ming, look. You and I are family, can you share it with us?" Kong Jin looked at Lu Ming sneakily and said. "Sure, use crystals to buy it." Lu Ming said. "Crystals? I don't have many crystals. How about this, I'll give you the raw stone." Kong Jin pondered for a moment. A bag appeared in his hand and he threw it to Lu Ming. "There are 100 raw gemstones inside. Do you think that's enough?" "Raw gemstones? You have that many raw gemstones?" Other than Xian Yanqing, Lu Ming and Jian Filiu widened their eyes in shock. Ori rocks were similar to spiritual crystals in that they contained massive amounts of energy. However, the energy in the raw gemstones was not the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the spiritual crystal, but the original chi of heaven and earth. The original chi was purer and more advanced than spiritual chi. The amount of energy consumed by a warrior at the spiritual ocean tier and above was too terrifying. If they used supreme-grade spirit crystals, it would be tens of millions or even hundreds of millions. The higher the tier, the more terrifying it would be. However, it would be different if he used raw gemstones. Raw gemstones were extremely advanced and could be quickly converted into vital essence. A low-grade raw gemstones were worth millions of supreme spiritual crystals. The fatty gave Lu Ming 100 low-grade raw stones, which were worth hundreds of millions of supreme spiritual crystals. One had to know that normal spiritual ocean tier warriors didn't have any raw gemstones. Usually, only martial artists at the higher stages of the spiritual ocean tier and above had raw gemstones, and would use them to cultivate. Alright, that's enough. Lu Ming kept the rough stone and took out 3 jade cards. He engraved the information of the Super Spirit Sea into the jade cards and then threw one to Kong Jin. This time, the few of them had experienced a life-and-death battle. Lu Ming had already regarded Kong Jin as a friend. Although the Super Spirit Sea's secret skill was precious, he would not be stingy with it. Then, he gave the other 2 jade tokens to Xian Yanqing and Jian Filiu. Chapter 753. 753 Breaking Through to the Spirit Ocean Tier. Lu Ming, I don't have any raw gemstones. Jian Filiu caught the jade plate and was a little dazed. Brother Jian, there's no need for raw gemstones. You can use them for your cultivation. Lu Ming smiled. No, this is too precious. Although Jian Filiu desired it, he still refused. Brother Jian, you're being so polite. Do you not treat me as a friend? Lu Ming said. How could this be? It is my honor to be friends with Brother Lu. Jian Filiu said. Then that's it. Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming, thank you. Jian Filiu clenched the jade plate tightly and looked touched. Even if they were friends, how many of them could share such a precious secret technique with him? As for Xian Yanqing, he didn't say a word and kept the jade card. Hey, why am I the only one who wants to buy raw stones? They don't want them. This is unfair, this is unfair. Kong Jin shouted. Because you're so rich. Lu Ming said with a smile. How am I rich? It's not fair, it's not fair. Kong Jin continued to shout. Before long, they had flown hundreds of thousands of miles and arrived at a remote, barren mountain. The four of them descended. Lu Ming waved his hands and inscribed a large inscription formation on the ground. It was no small matter to break through to the spirit ocean realm, and he could not be disturbed. Lu Ming had set up an inscription formation in this area. If there was anything abnormal, he would be able to sense it. After setting up the formation, everyone each chose a place to cultivate in seclusion. Lu Ming, the cultivation technique that you're cultivating requires a significant amount of energy to break through to the spirit ocean realm. You can use these raw gemstones. Xie Nianqing walked to Lu Ming and threw him a bag. Then, he turned and disappeared into a mountain. 200 raw gemstones. Lu Ming opened it and found 200 low-grade raw stones inside. Lu Ming smiled and put away the rough stone. In a flash, he rushed into a mountain and appeared in the supreme shrine. Dandan was lying in a corner, gnawing on spirit herbs, very leisurely. "Brat, you're ready to break through to the spiritual ocean tier?" Dandan glanced at Lu Ming and said. "Not bad." Lu Ming nodded. "Your true essence is extremely rich, and the danger of breaking through to the spirit ocean realm has increased greatly. Fortunately, you've cultivated 4 intents, so you should be fine. Let me help you guard." Dandan walked over. Lu Ming nodded and sat down cross-legged. With a wave of his hand, piles of top-grade spiritual crystals appeared in the surroundings. During this period of time, Lu Ming had killed many enemies and gathered all their spiritual crystals. There were more than 500 million pieces. Lu Ming estimated that 500 million yuan should be enough. Bang! Bang! With a shake of his vital essence, large piles of spiritual crystals exploded and were devoured by the 9-dragon bloodline. Then, he began to refine them crazily. Lu Ming circulated the true war dragon technique and continuously transformed the energy into essential core. Boom! 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 The vortex spun wildly and a large amount of essential core gathered in the vortex. Lu Ming began to compress the vortex. As time passed, Lu Ming's chi cyclone became smaller and smaller. However, his essential core also became more and more condensed, reaching a terrifying level. To open up the spirit ocean, the first step was to compress the cyclone to the extreme, then it would explode. Yes, it was an explosion. At the moment of the explosion, a terrifying energy would be produced. In the Dantian, a spirit sea would be opened. The spirit ocean was an ocean of Zhenyuan. The amount of Zhenyuan it could contain was much higher than the qi current. There was a limit to how much true essence a qi cyclone could hold. Without opening a spirit ocean, one would never be able to break through. However, this process was extremely dangerous. If the cyclone exploded, a single mistake could cause the Dantian to explode. It could even cause the entire body to explode and be crushed into pieces. Therefore, he needed to protect his body with intent. Using intent to block the energy of the explosion would gather in a certain area and open up the spirit sea. On the other hand, Lu Ming's essential core was too strong and condensed. Naturally, the power of the explosion would be stronger. If he only used one intent to protect himself, he would not be able to withstand it and it would be very dangerous. Fortunately, Lu Ming had 4 concepts. Compress, continue compressing. Half a day later, the vortex concept was compressed to the extreme, forming a point. Astonishing energy spread out from within. Success or failure depends on this one move. Explode. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with determination. With a single thought, the cyclone that had been compressed to the extreme exploded with a loud bang. Boom! Boom! It was as if the world had just been split open. A shocking amount of energy erupted and destroyed everything. Block it. The 4 intents of heaven and earth gathered together and formed layers of defense in his Dantian. Boom! 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 The violent energy wreaked havoc. Lu Ming's dantian was torn apart, forming a crack. This crack was growing rapidly. Slowly, the crack turned into a pool of water, and the pool became larger and larger. The spirit sea was opening up. This process only happened in an instant. The next moment, the violent energy calmed down and a pool with a diameter of about 10 meters was formed. This pool was the spirit sea. At the beginning of a breakthrough, the area would not be very large, but as one's cultivation level increased, it would become larger and larger. When an ordinary person broke through to the spirit ocean, their spirit ocean would not be as large as Lu Ming's. Lu Ming had cultivated the true war dragon technique and he had opened up such a large area of spirit ocean at the beginning. Lu Ming had successfully opened up the spirit sea and was not in any danger. This was normal. After all, Lu Ming had comprehended 4 types of concepts and had successfully fused them. No matter how strong his essential core was, the defense of 4 types of concepts was enough. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. He had finally made a breakthrough to the spirit sea realm. However, there was only a thin layer of Zhen Yuan at the bottom of the spirit ocean. Only when the Zhen Yuan in the spirit ocean was filled could one be considered to have truly entered the spirit ocean realm. Explode, explode. Lu Ming continued to blow up the spirit crystals, devouring and refining the spiritual energy to turn it into essential core. As the spirit crystals continued to be refined, the true essence in his spirit ocean increased and slowly filled up. 3 days later, everyone's spiritual crystals had been used up, but their spiritual oceans were not full. The amount of energy I've consumed in my cultivation is still as terrifying as ever. Lu Ming laughed bitterly. More than 500 million supreme spiritual crystals were not enough. Lu Ming then took out a bag and took out 2 raw gemstones. He crushed them and the raw gemstones emitted their qi. The bloodline of the 9 dragons opened its mouth and swallowed the origin qi. Origin energy was much more advanced than spirit energy. The true origin energy in his spirit ocean quickly filled up. In the end, Lu Ming refined another 50 raw gemstones before his spirit ocean was completely filled. What a rich Xin Yuan, what a rich Xin Yuan. Lu Mingyuan switched to the true war dragon technique. He felt extremely rich vital essence and was in a good mood. The true yuan of a spiritual ocean realm was much stronger than a king's realm. Right now, his battle power had also increased by an unknown amount. With a thought, he left the supreme shrine and sensed around. Xian Yanqing and the others should still be breaking through. Lu Ming had the 9 dragons bloodline, so he was faster. I'll wait for them while I cultivate. I'll cultivate my super spirit sea first. Lu Ming re-entered the supreme shrine and started cultivating. Chapter 754. 754 The Vast 9 Dragons. A day later, the secret skill Super Spirit Sea was successfully cultivated by Lu Ming. His spirit sea had doubled in size and could accommodate more essential core. Of course, when Lu Ming refilled his spirit sea, he had used another 200 raw gemstones. This time, if it wasn't for Kong Jin's 100 raw gemstones and Xian Yanqing's 200 raw gemstones, he wouldn't have had enough spiritual crystals. Boom! Boom! On the platform on the highest level of the Supreme Shrine, Lu Ming was cultivating the prison-suppressing heaven technique. His hands, feet, even his shoulders and waist seemed to contain a prison-suppressing steel. His every move suppressed everything and had unimaginable power. Lu Ming only stopped after more than 100 moves. After reaching the spiritual ocean tier, I can finally use the prison-suppressing heavenly art as I wish. Lu Ming revealed a smile on his face. The prison-suppressing heaven technique was a demigod-level bloodline martial technique. The amount of vital essence it consumed was too terrifying. When he was a peak-tier king, Lu Ming did not dare to use it casually and had to control it. After breaking through to the spirit sea realm, he no longer had this concern. In the spirit sea, his vital essence was extremely abundant and it was completely sufficient. In addition, all 4 intents had reached level 2. Lu Ming did not know what level his combat strength had reached. Following that, Lu Ming comprehended 4 concepts every day and cultivated martial arts techniques. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Lu Ming estimated that Xian Yanqing and the rest should be almost done with their cultivation, so he left the Supreme Shrine. What? Lu Ming felt that something was amiss the moment he stepped out of the Supreme Shrine. He had only sensed 2 auras, but there were originally 3. Buzz! Buzz! As if sensing Lu Ming's aura, Xian Yanqing and Kong Jin appeared in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming, Jian Filiu seems to have left. Xian Yanqing said. Brother Jian has left? Lu Ming was stunned. He had inscribed an inscription formation. If someone barged in from the outside, he would be able to sense it. However, if one went out from the inside, he would not be able to sense it. He sent me this information. Xian Yanqing passed a jade voice transmission talisman to Lu Ming. There was only 1 sentence in it. Miss Xia, Brother Lu, I have something to do. I'll leave first. Don't miss me. Lu Ming guessed that he had not received any news from Jian Filiu because he was in the Supreme Shrine and Jian Filiu could not send any messages. Brother Jian, what happened for you to leave in such a hurry? Why did you leave without saying goodbye? Lu Ming frowned. With his understanding of Jian Filiu, he wouldn't have left without saying goodbye. Something must have happened. I'm guessing it's because of his junior sister. Xian Yanqing said. It's possible. Did Brother Jian go to 9 Dragons? Lu Ming furrowed his brows. This was the only possibility. Let's go back to the city and see if we can get some information. Lu Ming said. Then, the 3 of them rose into the air and flew toward the city near the Heavenly King Monument. Soon, they arrived at a city. Now, most of the peak-tier kings from all over the world had left. The area around the Heavenly King Monument had returned to its previous desolation. There were not many people on the streets. The 3 of them found a restaurant to see if they could get any information. Kong Jin ordered 50 roasted lamb legs from the restaurant. According to him, they were to be stored. I heard that all the geniuses and sovereigns have gone to 9 Dragons in the Sky Martial region. That's normal. There's still more than a year before the Battle of Providence. Every time it happens, the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace will place great importance on it. I heard that all the cultivation sanctuaries in 9 Dragons have been opened up. All the cultivation sanctuaries that were closed in the past are now open to the geniuses. Naturally, those geniuses will flock there. Not only the Emperor Sky Divine Palace, but also the Sky Demon Valley, the Heavenly Corpse Sect, and so on. Every time the Battle of Providence is near, all kinds of holy lands will be open to increase the strength of the geniuses as soon as possible. After all, the Battle of Providence will affect the luck of a force for the next 20 years. It's no small matter. Even the Martial Emperor places great importance on it. That's right. Those sovereigns will naturally become stronger and stronger if they cultivate in such a holy land. All the sovereigns who are interested in the Battle of Providence will not miss it and will go. Otherwise, they will only be surpassed by others. Right now, 9 Dragons is the gathering place of the wind and clouds. In the restaurant, some people were discussing the recent news. Lu Ming, they're right. Before every Battle of Providence, the major forces will do everything they can to cultivate their geniuses and open up various holy lands. This is also an opportunity for us to improve our abilities quickly and compete with those top-ranked geniuses on the list of top 1,000 talents. Xian Yanqing said. Let's go to 9 Dragons. I have a friend there. Kong Jin said as he gnawed on the leg of lamb. Lu Ming was thinking rapidly in his heart. The 9 Dragon City in the Sky Martial region was where the main palace of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace was located. Martial Emperor Dai was there. He was heading to Nine Dragons, which was very close to Martial Emperor Dai. He was afraid that Martial Emperor De would sense his nine-dragon bloodline. Senior Jiuyang has already been sealed. He said that he wouldn't be detected for 10 years, so he should be fine. At that time, I'll try not to use the bloodline of the Nine Dragons, so there shouldn't be a problem. If I'm always timid and don't grasp opportunities, how can I quickly improve my cultivation? At this thought, Lu Ming decided to go. Alright, we'll set off in a moment. Lu Ming said. After a while, the three of them finished eating and flew toward the west. They were going to the nearby region to take the inter-province transportation formation. In the Sky Martial region, Nine Dragons was known as the largest city in the Eastern Barren Territory. Nine Dragons. It was called Nine Dragons because it was made up of 9 huge dragon veins. Each dragon vein was actually a mountain range. It was vast and stretched for tens of millions of miles, winding around the vast land. Among them, there were 6 dragon veins that were in different directions. At the center of these 6 dragon veins were the other 3 dragon veins. The 3 dragon veins converged together, forming the core of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Around the 9 dragon veins were city walls. However, this city wall was not an ordinary city wall. It was made up of countless mountain peaks, which were more than 10,000 meters high. They gathered together and formed a circle, surrounding the 9 dragon veins in the middle, forming the Nine Dragon City. Nine Long City was unbelievably huge. It was almost as big as the Tianxian region. That's right, a city was equivalent to a large region. This was simply unbelievable. From this, one could see how magnificent the city wall surrounding Nine Dragon City was. It was made up of many mountains, which was simply incredible. Obviously, it was not the creation of heaven and earth. It was said that it was built by the Supreme Master in the ancient times. Pulling out countless mountains from the ground and surrounding the 9 dragon veins, what a vast project it was. Lu Ming stood outside the city walls of 9 dragons, dumbstruck at the sight. He found it hard to believe that such a shocking building existed in this world. Was this even possible with human strength? Even a martial emperor can't do it, right? He believed that a force emperor could pull out a 10,000 m high mountain from the ground, but how many were there? Chapter 755. 755 Chapter 755 City within a city. As he looked over, what he saw were mountains that were 10,000 meters high. All the mountains were side by side, and he couldn't see the end. There was a huge city gate under a few of the mountains. It was one of the city gates to 9 dragons. Xian Yanqing and Kong Jin were calm. Ha, I'm back. Come, let's go in. Kong Jin carried his hatchet on his shoulder and held a lamb leg in one hand. He gnawed on it as he walked forward. I say, fatty, why are you carrying your axe all day? Aren't you tired? Don't you have a storage ring? Lu Ming asked as they walked. Ever since he saw Kong Jin, he had been seen carrying his huge battle axe every day. I'm carrying this battle axe to lose weight. Kong Jin answered. Kong Jin's answer made Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing stagger and almost fall. To lose weight? Then why don't you stop eating? Xian Yanqing said in disdain. How can you carry the battle axe if you don't eat? How can you lose weight if you can't carry the battle axe? You guys don't know, but it's very tiring to carry a battle axe every day. Kong Jin said with a serious expression. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were speechless. They were completely defeated. The city gate of 9 dragons was huge, at least hundreds of meters high and hundreds of meters wide. At the city gate, people came and went, and it was very lively. All kinds of warriors riding on demonic beasts and fierce beasts could be seen rushing past and into 9 dragons. There was no one guarding the city gate, and no one was checking, so anyone could enter and leave at will. This was confidence. As the main palace of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, Ninelong City gathered the most powerful forces of the Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace. In the entire Empyrean Heaven Divine Palace, more than 80% of the experts above the Spirit Embryo Realm were in Ninelong City. The Spirit Embryo Realm, the Spiritual God Realm, and even the Supreme. In addition, Martial Emperor De was also there. No matter if it was the Heavenly Corpse sect or the Heavenly Demon Valley, if they dared to break into Nine Dragons and cause trouble, they would be courting death, unless they were Imperial powerhouses. However, if an Imperial Path expert really came, it would be useless no matter how many experts there were at the city gate. The three of them walked through the city gate, and what entered their eyes was a huge and wide road that led in all directions. There was also an endless mountain range. The inside of Nine Dragons was an entire world. After all, its area was comparable to the Tianxian region. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth is so dense. Also, the essence realm of heaven and earth is much clearer than other places. Lu Ming was shocked. Lu Ming, this is only the edge. 9 dragon veins converge in Nine Dragon City. The closer you are to the dragon vein, the richer the spiritual qi of heaven and earth will be, and the clearer the conception of heaven and earth will be. Therefore, in Nine Dragon City, martial kings and martial artists are everywhere, and even Sea of Souls realm experts are a dime a dozen. Only those who are above the spirit embryo realm can be considered as experts. Kong Jin said. Lu Ming sighed, mainly because the conditions were too good. Nine Dragon City is dominated by the dragon veins. Right now, in 6 directions, the core of the 6 dragon veins are occupied by the 6 great ancient clans. With the dragon veins as the core, countless clans and sects of all sizes are scattered all over the city. On the larger scale, these powers all belong to the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. On the smaller scale, they compete with each other, developing and fighting each other. Every day, there are powers being destroyed, and new powers rising up. Even the 6 great ancient clans are competing with each other. Only by doing so can more powerhouses be born. Kong Jin explained. He had stayed in Nine Dragons before, so he knew the place quite well. We're currently in the easternmost region of the Dragon Vein. The strongest force here is one of the 6 ancient families, the Wang family. The Wang family occupies the core of the Dragon Vein, and there are countless forces of various sizes scattered around the Dragon Vein. Kong Jin continued. Lu Ming nodded. The 3 of them chose a direction and chatted as they flew. A few hours later, a city appeared in front of them. The 3 of them flew in. This city was called Grand Gathering City. According to Kong Jin's introduction, there were more than a dozen forces of various sizes scattered around the city. And this place had not officially entered the Dragon Vein in the east. It was only in the outer area. The closer it was to the Dragon Vein, the richer the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was. Only the powerful forces could occupy it. Small forces could only be in the periphery. The 3 of them strolled around the city. The city was not particularly large, but there were many experts on the streets. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the area. All of them were martial kings. Fortunately, there were not many at the spiritual ocean tier. He saw a few, but they were not very strong. After all, this was only the periphery of the Dragon Vein. Ting Ting, it's me, the young master. Suddenly, Kong Jin smiled brightly and greeted a woman. The woman was about 23 or 24 years old. She was wearing a light yellow dress and had a slim figure. She was very beautiful. The woman was walking over. When she heard the voice, she looked over. Then, she glared at Kong Jin and walked over. Damn fatty, are you a friend or not? You actually left without saying goodbye last time. Did he lie to a little girl again? The beautiful woman's beautiful eyes sized up Kong Jin as she unhappily said. Ha, Ting Ting, why would I? With a beauty like you in front of me, how can other beauties enter my eyes? The last time I left, I had something to do. See, I came back as soon as I finished. One day apart really feels like 3 years. Look, I've lost weight. As he said that, Kong Jin patted his stomach. Instantly, his fat started to shake like waves. It was a spectacular sight. Humph, don't try to flatter me. Your tricks are useless against me. The girl's lips curled up and she looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Ha, Tingting, come, let me introduce you. This is Ruan Tingting, my confidant. Kong Jin laughed. Go away, damn fatty, don't talk nonsense, I haven't known you for long. Ruan Tingting interrupted Kong Jin. She looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and said, the two of you look very dignified, are you friends of this fatty? I advise the two of you, this damn fatty is ignorant and incompetent, lazy and good at eating. The two of you shouldn't make bad friends by mistake and be led astray by this damn fatty. Hey, Tingting, how can you say that about me? We're friends, aren't we? Kong Jin said unhappily. Humph, who asked you to be so unreliable and leave without saying goodbye? Next time, don't say that I don't recognize you as a friend. Ruan Tingting coldly snorted. Lu Ming found Kong Jin and Ruan Tingting's bickering rather interesting and did not interrupt. Of course. With such a beautiful friend like you, how could I leave without saying goodbye? Ha, these two are friends I met outside. Their names are Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Have you heard of them? Kong Jin introduced Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. I've never heard of it. Ruan Tingting shook her head. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that the Secret Chamber of Commerce had not updated the list of top 1,000 talents yet. In addition, the Battle of Providence was approaching. Most people's attention was on the top of the list of top 1,000 talents. Not many people paid attention to the Battle of the Heavenly King list. However, this was also good. It was not a good thing to have too many people paying attention to it. Chapter 756. 756 Wind Sword Sect. Lady Ruan. Lu Ming nodded at Ruan Tingting and greeted her. Tingting, I've just arrived with 2 friends and don't have a place to stay. Do you think we can stay at your Wind Sword Sect for a while? Kong Jin looked at Ruan Tingting with wide eyes. Isn't there an inn? Ruan Tingting said. There is an inn, but it's not convenient for cultivation. It's not as comfortable as your place. My 2 friends are geniuses. Isn't it better for us to discuss martial arts? Kong Jin looked at Ruan Tingting with anticipation. Lu Ming felt contempt in his heart. This fatty must be trying to take the opportunity to get close to Ruan Tingting. He wanted to be in a favorable position and enjoy the moonlight first. I say, fatty, little Qing's sister. Lu Ming deliberately spoke and prolonged his voice. Ah, ahem, what's Xiao Qing's sister? I don't know her. Tingting, what do you think of my suggestion just now? Kong Jin instantly changed the topic. Ruan Tingting pondered for a moment and said, all right then. My courtyard is quite big. It's fine if I add the 3 of you. But fatty, you're not allowed to cause trouble. Kong Jin was overjoyed. He immediately swore to the heavens that he would not. Lu Ming shook his head. This fatty was really a weirdo. However, having a place to stay was better than staying in an inn. Lu Ming naturally would not reject it. Immediately, Lu Ming and the other 2 followed Ruan Tingting out of the grand gathering city and flew towards the west. 10,000 miles away, there was a mountain range. The spirit chi here was even denser than in Grand Gathering City. On top of the mountain range, there were many palaces and courtyards. This was the sect that Ruan Tingting was in, the Wind Sword Sect. The Wind Sword Sect was just a small force in 9 dragons. There were no more than 10 spiritual ocean tier martial artists in the sect, and the highest cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier. Such a force would be unrivaled in the Tianxian region, but in Nine Dragons, it was a small force. However, according to Ruantingting's introduction, the Wind Sword sect was considered to be one of the top forces in the dozen or so surrounding Grand Gathering City. With Ruantingting leading the way, the Wind Sword sect disciples did not stop them. They entered the Wind Sword sect and arrived at the courtyard where Ruantingting was staying. There were 5 rooms in Ruantingting's courtyard, so it was quite convenient for a few people to live in. Fatty, Brother Lu, Miss Xie, you guys can stay here from now on. However, don't wander around the Wind Sword sect. There are some forbidden areas that I don't even dare to enter. If I'm caught, I'll be punished. Ruantingting said. Don't worry, Lady Ruan, we know that. Lu Ming smiled. After that, Lu Ming and the other 2 stayed there. Nine Dragons was too big and had countless forces. He wanted to get familiar with it first. In the next 2 days, Lu Ming had a rough understanding of the forces in this area. In the middle of Nine Dragons, 3 dragon veins converged. This was where Martial Emperor De and the higher-ups of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace lived. There were 6 dragon veins in the surroundings, with the 6 ancient families as the main force and countless forces scattered around. Those cultivation holy lands were basically above the 9 dragon veins. It wasn't easy to cultivate in those holy lands. One had to be recommended by the local palaces or by the forces in Nine Dragons. It seemed that it would not be easy to enter those holy lands to cultivate. On the 3rd day, a clamor came from outside and Lu Ming walked out of the room. At the entrance of the courtyard, a young man was swaggering in. Sullo, this is my courtyard. What do you mean by barging in? Get out immediately. Ruantingting stood in front of the young man and said loudly. Your courtyard? Don't forget that this is the Wind Sword sect. Do you know your crime for bringing an outsider in? Su Luo's face was cold as he swept his gaze across Lu Ming and the rest. They're my friends. It's reasonable for me to let them stay in my courtyard for a few days. What's wrong with that? Sullo, you're the one who's guilty for barging into my courtyard without my permission. Now, get out. Ruantingting said. A slut is a slut. She actually brought a few men to live together. Sullo said coldly. Nest, where did this wild dog come from? You're barking here. Be careful, I'll tear your mouth apart. Kong Jin carried his battle axe and walked over, staring at Sullo with an unfriendly look. Fat pig, what did you say? You're looking for death. Sullo's eyes were cold, and his powerful aura rose up, enveloping Kong Jin. The aura of a peak-tier king. Boom! A powerful aura also rose from Ruantingting's body. She was also a peak-tier king. She took a step forward and stood in front of Kong Jin, blocking Su Luo's aura. In a place like Nine Dragons, it wasn't difficult to become a peak-tier king. As long as one's talent wasn't bad, and with the support of a huge amount of resources, it wouldn't be a problem to become a peak-tier king. Of course, most of them were ordinary peak-tier kings. They couldn't make the list of top 1,000 talents because they didn't have enough battle strength or potential. Ruantingting, you want to fight me for a few outsiders? Sullo's face was extremely gloomy. Get out. Ruantingting said coldly. Alright, damn fat pig. And you guys better be careful. Su Luo glanced at Kong Jin and then at Lu Ming and Lu Li. He snorted coldly and turned to leave. He seemed to be quite afraid of Ruantingting. Tingting, why are you blocking me? Let me tear that guy's stinky mouth apart. Kong Jin looked at the door with an unfriendly gaze. Fatty, don't brag. You're so ignorant and incompetent all day long, and you still think you can beat Sullo? He's a peak-tier king. Be careful, or you'll be beaten into a dead fat pig. Also, Lu Ming, Miss Xia, if I'm not around in the future, don't wander around the Wind Sword sect. Sullo is a narrow-minded person. If they see you, I'm afraid they'll deal with you. Wan Tingting warned. Looking at Wan Tingting's serious expression, Lu Ming was really speechless. Were they so weak in her eyes that they couldn't even deal with Solo? It must be that Kong Jin's impression in Wan Tingting's heart was too bad. Tingting, why is that guy targeting you? Kong Jin asked. He wanted to pursue me in the past, but I rejected him. That's why he's been targeting me ever since. Wan Tingting said. He's like a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Tingting, your ideal husband is a handsome and extraordinary hero like me. Kong Jin patted his chest with a triumphant look. Shameless. Wan Tingting glared at Kong Jin and then said to Lu Ming and the rest, I have something to do and need to go out for a while. You guys must not wander around the Wind Sword sect. Wan Tingting jogged out of the room after giving him some more instructions. I say, Fatty, you've never revealed your cultivation in front of Miss Tingting before? Lu Ming asked curiously. No, I originally wanted to use my handsome and unruly appearance to conquer her. What do you think? Do you guys think I have a chance? Kong Jin's small eyes were wide open as he looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing with a hopeful look. You're shameless. Xian Yanqing left these words and returned to his room to cultivate. You'd better use your cultivation to conquer her. Lu Ming patted Kong Jin's shoulder, turned around, and walked into the room. Hey, what's the meaning of this? Make it clear. Kong Jin shouted. Chapter 757. 757 Rank 6 Alchemist. Time flew by, and 2 days passed. In the room, Lu Ming sat cross-legged, a green flame dancing between his eyebrows. Break. Lu Ming muttered and activated the meditation with all his might. The green flame flickered, then shrank rapidly and disappeared. After a while, another kind of flame suddenly appeared between his brows. It was a blue flame. The blue mental energy fire represented that Lu Ming's inscription Dao had already reached level 6. A rank 6 alchemist. He exclaimed. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled into a smile. Through his inner vision, he saw a spirit lamp in his sea of consciousness. It was shining with a blue spirit fire, gorgeous and beautiful. Lu Ming's inscription Dao had long reached the limit of the 5th level. After this period of cultivation, he finally broke through and reached the 6th level. A level 6 inscriber was equivalent to a spiritual ocean tier cultivator. Now, I can take a look at the seal left behind by Master. Lu Ming controlled the mental energy fire and directed it towards the seal left by Lian Song. The seal left by Lian Song was easily broken. When the Dao of inscription was at level 5, it couldn't be opened, but at level 6, it was easily opened. It contained all the experiences and insights of a rank 6 alchemist left by Lian Song. Lu Ming felt as if he had obtained a treasure. He started to comprehend and cultivate. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Fatty, Lu Ming, Miss Xia, you guys stay here for a few days. I have something to do and will be out for a few days. Wan Tingting said to Lu Ming and the other two. Tingting, you're going out for a few days. Where are you going? Kong Jin asked. Nothing much. I need a few days to complete a mission issued by the sect. Wan Tingting said. A mission? Bring me along. Lu Ming, do you guys want to go? Kong Jin looked at Lu Ming and said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. He had been here for a few days. Lu Ming wanted to go out and have a look around to understand the situation. You guys want to go together? I'm telling you, this mission has a certain degree of danger. Wan Tingting said. If there's danger, then all the more we have to go. Tingting, don't worry, I'll protect you. Kong Jin seized the opportunity to please him. Wan Tingting pondered for a moment. You guys can go if you want. But don't run around. You have to stay by my side. Okay, Okay, no problem, I'll definitely be by your side. Kong Jin immediately agreed. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing did not say much. They followed Wan Tingting out of the Wind Sword sect and arrived outside of Grand Gathering City. This time, the main mission was to kill a peak 5th level demonic beast, the Black Devil Venomous Scorpion. The location was in a dark swamp more than 300,000 li away from Grand Gathering City. According to Wan Tingting, the dark swamp was filled with poisonous things and was very dangerous. Therefore, she had called a few of her good friends to go with her. Her good friends were not from the Wind Sword sect, but from other forces. Outside of Grand Gathering City, Lu Ming and the rest saw two other young men, a man and a woman. The woman was very beautiful and was about the same age as Wan Tingting. The man was also quite handsome. Through Wan Tingting's introduction, Lu Ming and the rest found out that the woman's name was Qiao Xian. She was a disciple of the Sea Cloud sect, another sect near Grand Gathering City. The man's name was Shi Kai, and he was also a disciple of the Shi family, one of the forces in Grand Gathering City. Tingting, who are they? Qiao Xian looked at Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Kong Jin curiously. Ha, nice to meet you, beautiful. I'm Kong Jin. Kong Jin was the first to greet Qiao Xian. His small eyes scanned Qiao Xian's body up and down, and they were shining brightly. This damn fatty, he's just like you. Xian Yanqing whispered in Lu Ming's ear. Lu Ming immediately pulled a long face. In justice, he was greatly wronged. When did he become as lecherous as Kong Jin, staring at every beautiful woman he saw? Humph. Wan Tingting glared at Kong Jin and ignored him. She introduced him to Qiao Xian, this is Lu Ming, and this is Miss Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming. Qiao Xian's eyes suddenly lit up. Xian, you know Lu Ming? Wan Tingting asked. Chapter 758. 758 Treasure, the Miao Family. Tingting, there seems to be a formation here. Qiao Xian carefully examined the mound and frowned. Why is there a formation here? Could it be the Immortal's Cave of a certain senior? Shi Kai's eyes lit up. Wan Tingting put the corpse of the black ghost venomous scorpion into her storage ring and also examined it. This mound looks like it's been here for a while. It's covered with weeds, and I reckon that no one has been here for a long time. Could this be a cave abode left behind by a senior expert? A relic left behind? It's possible. Qiao Xian and Shi Kai's eyes lit up. 9 dragons had given birth to countless powerhouses throughout its history. Some of them did not have any descendants and would leave behind cave abodes and relics after their deaths. If anyone were to encounter them, it would be a great opportunity. Now, could it be that they had encountered such an opportunity? The few of them were overjoyed. But how do we break this formation? If we inform the elders of the sect, we won't get a share. Wan Tingting said with a frown. This formation is quite powerful. That black ghost scorpion was killed in an instant. I've only learned a little about the Tao of Inscription, so I can't break it at all. Qiao Xian sighed. The three of them looked at each other and could only feel anxious. Did he really have to hand over this rare opportunity to the elders of the sect? They were a little unwilling. I know a little about inscriptions, let me try. He said. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Lu Ming, you know the Tao of Inscription? Wan Tingting looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Yes, I understand. Lu Ming nodded. He sized up the mound and said, the owner of this mound should be a rank 6 alchemist. The formation he set up is a rank 6 formation. A level 6 formation. Then how do we break? Wan Tingting opened her mouth, but before she could finish her words, she stopped and her beautiful eyes widened. Lu Ming's fingertips danced in the air. In an instant, dense runes appeared in the air and flew toward the mound. So fast. Ruan Tingting, Qiao Xian, and the rest were dumbfounded. Lu Ming's speed of inscribing inscriptions was too fast. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of inscriptions seemed to appear. Buzz! On the mound, a dazzling light appeared and mysterious inscriptions appeared. Boom! 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 In the next moment, the mound actually split into two, revealing a dark passage. Beat! It's opened. Ruan Tingting and the others were dumbfounded and only reacted after a long time. Lu Ming, I didn't expect your Tao of inscription to be so profound. You even hid it from us before. Ruan Tingting blinked her big eyes and was a little surprised. Damn it. Lu Ming has stolen the limelight. Damn it. Fatty was empty, wailing in his heart, feeling indignant. Let's go in. Lu Ming smiled. Alright, let's hurry in. A group of 6 people walked towards the tunnel that had been split open on the mound. The passage was very long. After a few thousand meters, the front suddenly opened up, and a rather spacious underground space appeared. This was an underground secret room, which should have been excavated by man. The area was very large. A skeleton sat cross-legged in the middle of the secret room. There was a space ring on the finger of the skeleton. It really is the immortal's cave of a senior. This senior must have been dead for many years. Ruan Tingting's big eyes lit up. Qiao Xian's and Shi Kai's eyes also lit up. A Sea of Soul realm expert who could set up a rank 6 formation left behind a storage ring, how many treasures would there be in it? To peak king tiers like them, the temptation was huge. Let's split it equally between the 6 of us. How is it? Qiao Xian suggested. Evenly split. If Lu Ming had not opened the array this time, we would not have gotten it at all. I think Lu Ming should get more. Ruan Tingting said. That's true. Qiao Xian nodded. I don't mind if Lu Ming gets more, but the fatty and the lady didn't do anything. I'm afraid it's not good to split it equally with us. Shi Kai's eyes flashed. Hey, kid, what do you mean by that? Are you looking down on me? Kong Jin was immediately displeased. He, you guys don't have to fight anymore. Everything inside is ours. Right at this moment, a cold sneer was heard. 2 green-robed elders walked in from the passageway. Ruan Tingting, Qiao Xian, and Shi Kai's expressions changed drastically. Especially when they saw the clothes of the 2 old men, their faces became even uglier. The Miao family. You are from the Miao family. Qiao Xian exclaimed. He, that's right. We are from the Miao family. In fact, we have discovered this cave dwelling a long time ago. It's just that the array outside is quite tricky. We have been thinking of a way to solver it during this time. We didn't expect that the array would be broken by you. Haha, the heavens are really helping us. One of the old men laughed. You too, there's no proof. You said that you found it first, but no one knows. However, it's a fact that we opened this cave. According to the rules, the treasures inside should belong to us. Shi Kai argued. Yours? He, kid, you really have the guts to say that. An old man sneered, his eyes revealing a cold smile. The aura from his body also spread out. It was terrifying, powerful, and vast. Spiritual ocean tier, it's the spiritual ocean tier. Shi Kai exclaimed, his face turning pale. Ruan Tingting and Qiao Xian's faces also turned pale. Senior, since you discovered this place first, it should belong to you. We'll leave immediately, we'll leave. Ruan Tingting was quite decisive. When she saw that the situation was not right, she immediately gave up. Leave. He, where to? One of the old men moved and blocked the passage. The other old man scanned Xian Yanqing, Qiao Xian, and Ruan Tingting with a burning gaze. He sneered, our luck today is too good. There are actually 3 beautiful little girls. Stunning, truly stunning. Hee hee, you guys can stay and serve us. How about this, I'll take that girl and you take the other 2, how about that? The old man who was blocking the passage pointed at Xian Yanqing and said. His eyes were burning. You really know how to choose. The other old man pouted. As for Wan Tingting and Xiao Xian, their faces were already so pale that there was no trace of blood. Seniors, my father is the Sea Cloud sect master. Please let us go. Xiao Xian's face was pale as she said in a trembling voice. So you're the daughter of the Sea Cloud sect master. Ha, then it'll be even more fun to play with. An old man laughed, not afraid at all. Wan Tingting and the others revealed looks of despair. The Miao family wasn't a power near Grand Gathering City. The Miao family was located on the Dragon's Vein. Those who had the qualifications to establish a power on the Dragon's Vein were not comparable to the powers near Grand Gathering City. They were much stronger than these powers. The Miao family didn't care about the forces near Grand Gathering City at all. Chapter 759. 759 Chapter 759 Suppressed. Lu Ming, don't fight with me this time. There's also Miss Xie. Calm down, calm down. I'll settle this. Kong Jin suddenly sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Ah! Lu Ming was stunned. Xian Yanqing's eyes glowed with a cold light. He was stunned. At this moment, Kong Jin stepped out and shouted, I say, you 2 old fogies, are you treating me like air? Now, quickly kneel down and apologize to these girls, and this lord can consider giving you a lighter punishment. These sudden words caused Wan Tingting, Xiao Xian, and Shi Kai to be stunned. Fat pig, what did you just say? An old man's face darkened. Old man, are you deaf? I told you to kneel down and admit your mistakes. Kong Jin said with a cold face. Lu Ming smiled faintly but did not step forward. This fatty wanted to show off in front of the beautiful woman. He would let him. Anyway, in Lu Ming's heart, these 2 old fellows from the Miao family were dead for sure. Xian Yanqing snorted but did not make a move. Fatty, you don't want to live anymore. Wan Tingting's face was as white as snow. She walked to Kong Jin's side and whispered. Tingting, don't worry. With me here, no one can hurt you. I can suppress these 2 old men with one hand. Kong Jin straightened his back and shouted. He was speaking the truth. The 2 elders were both at the peak first level of the spiritual ocean tier. He was confident that he could suppress them with one hand. It's over, it's over. Wan Tingting, Xiao Xian, and the others thought that Fatty was bragging and sighed in their hearts. Today, they were definitely done for. In fact, they had already decided that they would rather die than fall into the hands of these 2 old men. Fat pig, if you want to be the hero saving the beauty, why don't you take a look at your own capabilities first? I'll chop you up right now. An old man revealed a cold smile on his face. His figure moved as fast as lightning, and he clawed at the fatty. Fast, too fast, and a huge pressure spread out, pressing down on Wan Tingting and the others. They only felt that there was an incomparably heavy mountain on their bodies, and they couldn't even resist. The difference between ordinary peak-tier kings and first-level spiritual ocean-tier supreme beings was too great, and they could kill a large group with a single slap. Wan Tingting and the other 2 were in despair. They realized that they might not even be able to commit suicide in the hands of the 2 old men. However, the next moment, their eyes suddenly widened. The fat man reached out his hand and grabbed the old man's wrist. Kacha! The next moment, the sound of bones breaking came from the old man's wrist, followed by the old man's shrill scream. Stupid fat pig, let me go! The old man roared. His body was filled with green true essence, and his cultivation erupted. His other palm smashed toward Kong Jin. Bang! Kong Jin was very direct. He raised his arm and swung it. The old man's body was like a broken gunny sack, heavily thrown to the ground. With a boom, the ground shook, and the old man's body hit the ground, creating a big pit. The intent realm and Jin Yuan on his body all disappeared without a trace. Bang! Kong Jin swung his arm again. The old man created another hole in the ground, and even the secret room started to shake. The old man was lying in the pit, spitting out blood. His body was like a pile of mud, and his eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. With his cultivation at the peak first level of the spiritual ocean tier, he actually had no power to resist Kong Jin. Kong Jin said that he would suppress him with one hand, so he did it. Freak, he's a freak. The old man roared in his heart. Wan Tingting, Qiao Xian, and Shi Kai were already petrified. Their eyes were wide open as they looked at Kong Jin's tall and straight figure. Especially Wan Tingting. She had known Kong Jin for a while now, but she had never seen him hand anything. She never dreamed that this lazy fatty would be so terrifying. A first-level spiritual ocean tier cultivator was as weak as a baby in Kong Jin's hands. This was simply too unbelievable. It was like a dream. A clown. How dare you be so rude to Tingting? You're looking for death. Kong Jin straightened his chest with all his might, trying to look as mighty and extraordinary as possible. TSK, you really know how to act. Xian Yanqing said in disdain. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. Go quickly. Bring the experts of the Miao family here and kill this fatty. I want them to die, all of them. The mud-like old man roared. The old man at the entrance of the passage suddenly reacted and turned to run. However, the moment he turned around, he suddenly saw a figure standing at the entrance of the passage, looking at him with a faint smile. It was Lu Ming, but he did not know when Lu Ming had appeared there. Brat, get lost. He could not be bothered to think too much. He roared and charged at Lu Ming. The terrifying true essence and concept condensed into a sharp blade and slashed at Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming as quickly as possible and then escape. He could not let the fatty catch up to him. He was too terrifying. He swore in his heart that as long as he could escape, he would bring the experts of the Miao family to kill that fatty and destroy the Sea Cloud sect. Then, he saw Lu Ming stretch out his palm and slap him. Bang! The saber light that he had unleashed with all his might was as fragile as tofu in front of Lu Ming's palm. Wherever Lu Ming's palm passed, all his attacks and defenses turned into bubbles. Then, Lu Ming's palm landed on his face ruthlessly. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. The old man felt the world spin around him. His body flew far away and fell in front of Kong Jin. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and he was dumbfounded. The old man who was like a pile of mud was also confused. Wan Tingting, Qiao Xian, Shi Kai, and the rest's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They looked at Lu Ming in a daze, then at the old man who had been slapped until he was dizzy. They rubbed their eyes hard, thinking that they were dreaming. Lu Ming. Wan Tingting and the others were no longer speaking fluently. They didn't know what to say. First, it was empty advance, then Lu Ming. In their hands, two first-level spiritual ocean tier powerful beings were simply trash, dolls, without the slightest ability to resist. Birds of a feather flocked together. They thought of this sentence. That fatty was so powerful. How could Lu Ming be weak? And Xian Yanqing. They looked at Xian Yanqing, who still had a look of disdain on his face, and were speechless. Who were these people? Could he be a top figure on the list of top 1,000 talents? Lu Ming, you're snatching it from me again. Kong Jin cast an unhappy glance at Lu Ming. I'm just afraid that he'll run away. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Humph, with me here, where can he run to? It's just a matter of minutes to get rid of these two pieces of trash. Alright, Tingting, how do we get rid of them now? Kong Jin looked at Wan Tingting. Kill them. We must kill them. Otherwise, the Miao family will not let us off when they return. Before Wan Tingting could say anything, Xiao Xian spoke up in a decisive manner. Chapter 760. 760 The 100 Venerated Mountains. No, no, I beg you, please spare us. When we go back, I promise not to say a word. We'll pretend that today's incident never happened and let it go. Yes, yes, let's forget it. The two old men from the Miao family shouted one after another. Unfortunately, I don't trust you. Wan Tingting's face was cold as a bright sword light poured out. The two pitiful elders from the Miao family were separated by Lu Ming and Kong Jin despite their strength. They were completely unable to resist and their bodies were pierced by the sword light. Taking a deep breath, Wan Tingting's gaze swept across Lu Ming before landing on Kong Jin. Fatty, you've been hiding it from me for so long. You're so strong, but you didn't tell me. Tingting, you didn't ask me, did you? Kong Jin chuckled. This time, it's all thanks to you guys. Otherwise, we would have been in danger. How about this, all of the storage rings here will belong to you. We don't want any of them. Xiao Xian said. It should be like this. Wan Tingting nodded. Although Shi Kai was a little indignant, it was all thanks to Lu Ming and Kong Jin this time. He did not have the face to ask for a share of the profits. This place was found by everyone, so let's split it equally. Lu Ming walked forward and devoured the blood essence of the two elders without anyone knowing. Two martial artists at the first level of the spiritual ocean realm. As for the skeleton, Lu Ming estimated that it was at most at the third level of the spiritual ocean realm when it was alive. With Lu Ming's current realm, he was not too tempted, so he suggested splitting it equally. Xiao Xian, Shi Kai, and a few others were all local tyrants. Although their cultivation was not strong, it might be useful to build good relations with them. Well, Lu Ming is right. Let's split it equally. You guys can check it. Kong Jin's Shen Yuan sucked in a few storage rings and he handed them to Wan Tingting. Thank you, Brother Kong and Brother Lu. Shi Kai immediately expressed his gratitude, his face beaming with joy. As such, Wan Tingting and Xiao Xian did not decline and began to count. In the end, the six of them split it equally. The mission has been completed. Let's go back first. Thank you for this time. I'll treat you to a big meal in 2 days. Wan Tingting said with a smile. Xiao Xian and Shi Kai were also beaming with joy. This time, they had struck it rich. They left the secret underground room, and nothing happened along the way. It didn't take long for them to return to Grand Gathering City. Xiao Xian and Shi Kai were the first to leave, returning to their respective factions. Lu Ming and the rest returned to the courtyard with Wan Tingting. After returning to the courtyard, Wan Tingting left first. She had to hand in the Black Ghost Scorpion mission. After Wan Tingting went to the Hall of Missions to hand in her mission and was about to go back, she was stopped by a figure. Yi Qing, what's the matter? Wan Tingting's eyes darkened as she looked at the figure in front of her. The person in front of her was a woman. She was quite good-looking, but her mean eyes destroyed her beauty. Wan Tingting, my father is looking for you. Go to the meeting hall. Yi Qing said coldly. The sect master is looking for me. Wan Tingting frowned. Yi Qing's father was the Wind Sword sect leader. Whether it was talent or beauty, Wan Tingting was superior to Yi Qing. In the past, Yi Qing had always been jealous of Wan Tingting and would cause trouble for her at any time. The relationship between the two was very bad. Let's go. Yi Qing turned around and walked out. The cold smile on her face grew wider and there was a faint smug smile on her face. Wan Tingting frowned. She had a bad feeling about this, but since the sect master was looking for her, she had no choice but to go. Not long after, Wan Tingting and Yiqing arrived at the Wind Sword Sect's meeting hall. In the conference hall, not only was the Wind Sword Sect leader Yi Fa present, but there were also a few of the most powerful elders of the Wind Sword Sect, all of whom were above the Sea of Soul realm. Solo. Wan Tingting saw Su Luo behind an elder. Solo's father was an elder. Solo looked at her with a cold gaze. Wan Tingting didn't know why, but she had a bad feeling. This disciple greets the sect master and elders. Wan Tingting bowed. Rise. The Wind Sword Sect leader, Yi Fa, smiled. Many thanks, Palace Master. Wan Tingting said. Tingting, your Wan family has received the Wind Sword Sect's favor for generations, and the Wind Sword Sect has also nurtured you with all their heart. Now, there's something that concerns the rise and fall of the Wind Sword Sect that you need to do. You won't refuse, right? Yi Fa said. Wan Tingting's heart skipped a beat. She knew that they were about to get to the main topic. She said, please speak, Sect Master. As long as Tingting can do it, I will do my best. Tingting, you should know about the 100 Venerated Mountain, right? Yi Fa said. The 100 Venerated Mountains? Could it be that it has already been opened? Wan Tingting was shocked. The 100 Venerates Mountain is an extremely mysterious holy land for cultivation. It is said that there are more than 100 spiritual God Realm Masters who left their marks and inheritances in the 100 Venerates Mountain. It is usually not opened and will only be opened before the Battle of Providence. The geniuses of those great families can naturally enter at will, but small forces like us have a fixed quota. This time, there are a total of 36 forces surrounding the 3 cities, Juhao City, Juxing City, and Jufeng City. There are only 30 spots, and only the 6 most powerful forces are qualified to be allocated spots. Therefore, after 10 days, the 36 forces will send their strongest experts to compete for the first 6 spots. Yi Fa explained. Sect Master, for this kind of competition, it'll definitely be spiritual ocean tier warriors fighting, right? My cultivation is low, how can I help? Wan Tingting asked in confusion. That's right, it'll naturally be a spiritual ocean tier expert. My Wind Sword Sect's patriarch will also come out of seclusion to battle. However, with my Wind Sword Sect's strength, it's impossible for us to enter the top 6. We'll have to ask for external help. Only then can we enter the top 6. I can't miss this opportunity. When the time comes, a few geniuses from my Wind Sword Sect will be able to enter, and will be able to rise in the future. Yi Fa said. Wan Tingting still didn't say anything. She still didn't know what she needed to do. Tingting, to tell you the truth, the 2 seniors of Clear River Mountain have taken a fancy to you. As long as you agree to marry them, they will help my Wind Sword Sect. In that case, my Wind Sword Sect will have a high chance of getting into the top 6. After Yi Fa finished speaking, he looked at Wan Tingting with bright eyes. Boom. 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 Wan Tingting's mind seemed to have been struck by lightning. After a long time, Yi Fa's true motive was finally revealed. He wanted him to marry the 2 monsters of Mount Qinghe. The 2 monsters of Qinghe were 2 old monsters who had lived for more than 1,000 years. They were both vicious and eccentric, and they were famous in the vicinity of Grand Gathering City. Yi Fa actually wanted to use her as a condition to marry the 2 old monsters in exchange for their help. Yes, she was married to 2 old monsters at the same time. Wan Tingting never expected such a thing to happen. I don't agree. Wan Tingting clenched her fists tightly and took a deep breath. She looked at Yi Fa with determination. Yi Fa frowned, and so did the other elders. Tingting, you have to know how important this opportunity is to the Wind Sword Sect. The two seniors from Clear River Mountain are at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean realm and the peak of the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean realm. With their help, we'll definitely be able to get into the top 6. Even if we're in 6th place, we'll still have 3 spots. This matter concerns the rise and fall of the Wind Sword sect. Yi Fa emphasized. Chapter 761. 761 Forced. No, I don't agree. Sect Master, if you want help, you can ask someone else. Why must you ask the 2 monsters of Clear River? Wan Tingting said. Someone else? Then what kind of expert can you invite, tell me? Yi Fa sneered. I have a few friends with extremely high cultivation and powerful combat strength. You can ask them to help us. Wan Tingting thought of Lu Ming, Kang Jin, and Xian Yanqing. Ha ha ha, Wan Tingting, you're not talking about the boys who live in your courtyard, are you? Beside him, Solo burst out laughing. That's right, it's them. Wan Tingting said through gritted teeth. Kang Jin and Lu Ming could easily crush the 2 elders of the Miao family who were at the peak of the 1st level of the spiritual ocean tier. Their combat strength was definitely above the 2nd level of the spiritual ocean tier. Wan Tingting thought that if she begged them, Kang Jin and the others might agree. Hee hee, what a joke. What can those few kids do to help us? Are you a burden to us? That girl is pretty, as beautiful as a fairy. Do you want her to use her beauty as a trap? Ha! Solo laughed out loud. She's just trying to find a reason to shirk her responsibility. She doesn't care about the sect at all, she only cares about herself. Yi Qing coldly said. Alright, the 2 seniors of Mount Clear River are at the peak of the 4th and 3rd level of the spiritual ocean realm. Where can we find such combat power? Only finding them is the safest. This matter is settled. Yi Fa said. No, I don't agree. Sect Master, you know what kind of people the 2 monsters of Qing He are. They are 2 old monsters. Who knows how many innocent girls have died at their hands? Wan Tingting shook her head. Nonsense, the 2 seniors of Qinghe Mountain are not that kind of people. You must agree to this. Yi Fa's face darkened as he scolded. That's right, Wan Tingting. Those are 2 powerful people in the spiritual ocean tier. It's your fortune to be able to marry them. This is also a benefit that the sect fought for you. It's fine if you don't thank them, but you dare to reject them? Yi Qing's eyes glowed with joy as she coldly said. Since it's so good, why don't you get married? Since it's for the good of the sect, then get married. Wan Tingting stared at Yi Qing and called out. Nonsense. The 2 seniors of Mount Qinghe have their eyes on you. Alright, this matter is settled. Go back and pack up. In 2 days, follow me to Mount Qinghe. Yi Fa slammed the table and made his decision. No, I won't marry you. I'd rather die than marry you. Unless you kill me and bring my body over. Wan Tingting gritted her teeth, her eyes red as she looked at Yi Fa with determination. Impudent. Evil creature. What an ingrate. The other elders shouted in anger and glared at Wan Tingting. Ha ha ha. Wan Tingting suddenly burst out laughing. At this moment, her heart was as cold as ice. She was completely disappointed in this sect. For generations, the Ruan family has given our all for the Wind Sword sect. We've fought bloody battles and made countless contributions. My big brother died in battle for the sect. The Ruan family has never owed the sect anything. You don't have to use any favors to pressure me. Wan Tingting completely exploded. She stood up straight and glanced at Yi Fa and the elders. Her eyes were filled with disappointment. You guys don't have to give any excuses. Whatever you say is for the sake of the sect's rise and fall. You're just doing it for your own selfish reasons. You want to send your descendants, these few pieces of trash, to the 100 Venerate Mountain. Are they the most talented in the Wind Sword sect? Wan Tingting pointed at Yi Qing and Su Luo. Bitch, what did you say? Who are you calling trash? Yi Qing screamed. But if it's given to these few trash, I will definitely not agree. Wan Tingting said. The matter of the spots, the sect is free to arrange, it's not up to you to interfere. Yi Fei's face was very cold as he said in a deep voice. Wan Tingting shook her head and smiled bitterly. Her talent was definitely one of the best in the Wind Sword sect. However, she was usually suppressed in all aspects. All the good resources would be given to Yi Qing, Su Luo, and the others first because they had a backer. As for her, most of her resources were obtained by completing missions on her own. She wouldn't say anything about this. They were born into different families, and that was how fate was. She could only rely on herself. But now, Yi Fei and the others were so shameless that they wanted to sacrifice her in exchange for Yi Qing and the others' opportunities. She would never agree. I'll say the same thing again. Either you kill me, or I won't agree to this. Wan Tingting's reply was decisive. Wan Tingting, you'd better think it through. You should know that your parents are still in the sect. You'd better consider their safety. Yi Fei said in a deep voice. Wan Tingting's delicate body trembled violently, and her face was deathly pale, without a trace of blood. Yi Fei actually used her parents to threaten her. Was this something a sect leader should do? Despicable, shameless, Yi Fei, you guys are despicable. Wan Tingting shouted. You bastard! How dare you! Wan Tingting, come with me to Mount Qinghe in 2 days. Otherwise, I'll collect your parents' bodies and you'll still have to go. Yi Fei stood up and released a powerful aura that pressed down on Wan Tingting. Wan Tingting's body trembled, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. Her eyes were filled with despair. She had no choice. Her parents' lives were in the hands of the Wind Sword sect. She could only compromise. Hee, Wan Tingting, aren't you pretty? Congratulations, you've married 2 almighty men. Yi Qing let out a gloating laugh. Ha, Wan Tingting, when I enter the 100 venerated mountains in the future, I will obtain a great opportunity and become a peerless expert. I will definitely not forget your kindness. Solo laughed heartily, extremely carefree. Trash like you will never achieve anything great. Wan Tingting glared at them coldly, then turned around and strode out of the meeting hall. Humph, bitch, just you wait. Yi Qing snorted. Wan Tingting walked out of the meeting hall in a daze. She felt despair in her heart. The road ahead was long, but she could not see any hope. She flew out of the Wind Sword sect in a daze and disappeared into the distance. She only returned to the courtyard in the evening. Tingting, what's wrong? Why are your eyes so red? Did someone bully you? Kong Jin quickly asked after seeing Wan Tingting. I'm fine. Now, all of you, move out of my courtyard and leave the Wind Sword sect. Wan Tingting said coldly. Ah. You want to drive us away? Why? Kong Jin was a little stunned. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing heard the commotion and walked out. Chapter 762. 762 Chapter 762 Crisis. Why are there so many whys? I hate you, and I don't welcome you now. Get lost, I don't want to see you. Wan Tingting's face was cold as she asked him to leave. Tingting, what's wrong? You were fine before. What's wrong with you? Kong Jin asked. Didn't you hear me telling you to leave? You're not welcome here, so leave quickly. Are you going to bully me just because you have a high cultivation level? I'm not afraid. Wan Tingting called out stubbornly. Tingting, what's the matter? Tell us and I'll help you solivir it. Kong Jin shouted. Wantingting gritted her teeth and almost said it, but then she remembered that there were patriarchs at the third level of the spiritual ocean tier in the Wind Sword sect, as well as several experts at the second level of the spiritual ocean tier. If she told Kong Jin and the others, wouldn't she just implicate them? She gritted her teeth and didn't say anything, only wanting Kong Jin and the others to leave. Fatty, let's go. Lu Ming walked over, pulled the spatial link, and walked out. But Ting. Kong Jin wanted to continue. Let's go, we'll talk after we leave. Lu Ming pulled Fatty and walked out with Xian Yanqing by his side. As she watched Lu Ming and the rest leave, Wantingting could no longer hold back her tears. They flowed down in streams. Lu Ming pulled Kong in and left the Wind Sword sect. Lu Ming, why did you drag me out? Ting must be in trouble. Kong Jin said. You think I can't tell? Lu Ming said. If you can tell, why did you bring me out? There must be an inside story behind this. She doesn't want to say it, perhaps because she's afraid of implicating us. We can only come out first and think of a solution later. Lu Ming frowned. What do you have in mind? Kong Jin said. Right now, we need to first know what's going on before we can solivir it. Let's go to Grand Gathering City first. Didn't we leave behind Miss Qiao Xian's voice transmission jade talisman? She's so close to Ting, so she might know something. Let's find her first. Lu Ming said. Perhaps it's because of the Wind Sword sect or her family. I've seen her cry before. Xian Yanqing said. Let's go to Grand Gathering City first, I'll send a message to Miss Qiao Xian. Lu Ming took out a jade voice transmission talisman. At this moment, his eyes flickered. Miss Qiao Xian sent me a message first, asking us to gather at Grand Gathering City. Lu Ming said. Kong Jin's expression changed. He said, Miss Qiao Xian must have something to tell us at this time. Let's go. The three of them quickly flew towards Grand Gathering City. Not long after, they arrived at Grand Gathering City and saw Qiao Xian at the city gate. Brother Kong, Brother Lu, Miss Xia, Ting is in trouble. Qiao Xian said anxiously when she saw Lu Ming and the others. What happened? Ting just kicked us out. Kong Jin hurriedly said. Ting came to look for me just now. She cried the moment she saw me. She didn't want to tell me at first, but after I asked her again and again, she finally told me that it was because of the 100 venerated mountain. Immediately, Qiao Xian told him everything she knew. Despicable and shameless Wind Sword sect. What sect leader? What elder? They're simply shameless to the extreme. After listening to what he had to say, Kong Jin's anger rose to the sky like a mad beast. This sect should not remain in this world. Xian Yanqing's voice was also extremely cold. Miss Qiao Xian, you're guessing that Ting will risk her life to save her parents? Lu Ming asked. With Ting's personality, that's very likely to be the case. Qiao Xian said, not good. If you can guess it, how can the Wind Sword sect not? If Ting goes, it might be dangerous. Let's hurry back to the Wind Sword sect. Lu Ming's expression changed. By the time Qiao Xian found Lu Ming and the rest, Wantingting had already started to move in the Wind Sword sect. She had changed into a black robe and turned into a black phantom in the night, flying towards the depths of the Wind Sword sect at high speed. After passing through many pavilions and palaces, Wantingting appeared in a courtyard. Who is it? When Wantingting appeared, a voice came from one of the rooms. Then, two figures appeared in the courtyard. It was a middle-aged couple. Ting, it's you. Why are you here so late at night? She asked. The middle-aged man looked at Ting and asked. Father, Mother, come with me. Let's leave this place and leave the Wind Sword sect. Wan Tingting's eyes were red. Tingting, what happened? The middle-aged couple was even more confused. Father, Mother, they want me to marry the two monsters of Mount Qinghe. They even need you to threaten me. Wan Tingting briefly explained the situation. What? How could such a thing happen? Our Wan clan has been devoted to the Wind Sword sect, but they're still treating you like this. No, I must find the sect leader and ask him. The middle-aged man said angrily. Father, it's no use. They're very determined. In their eyes, it's only right for them to use my happiness to help their children. Let's go. Wan Tingting said. This was also the reason why she came here personally and didn't send a message to her parents. She was afraid that after her father received the news, he would directly look for Yi Fa, and by then, she wouldn't be able to leave even if she wanted to. Yeah, listen to Tingting. There's no need to stay in such a sect. Wan Tingting's mother said. Alright, let's go. Wan Tingting's father said through gritted teeth. The three of them carefully left the courtyard and headed out of the sect. They bypassed many courtyards and left the core area of the Wind Sword sect. The terrain became wider, but the three of them stopped. In front, Yi Qing and Su Luo stood in front and sneered. Behind them, a group of people followed. Wan Tingting, how dare you? You actually want to betray the Wind Sword sect with your parents and ignore the rise and fall of the Wind Sword sect. You've committed a heinous crime. Yi Qing sneered with a smug smile on her face. Yi Qing, just admit that you're despicable and shameless. Don't use those reasons to pressure me. You're only doing this for yourself. Even if I die, I won't let you have your way. Wan Tingting's face was very pale. She knew that she would not be able to leave today. Impudent, you bitch, what's your status? How dare you speak to me like this? Men, take down those two old men and cripple their cultivation. I'll see if that cheap woman will obey or not. Yi Qing shrieked. A few figures walked out from behind her. Charge, charge out. Wan Tingting's father shouted as his aura burst out from his body and he rushed out. Wan Tingting's father also had the cultivation of a peak-tier king. At the same time, Wan Tingting and her mother also rushed forward. Today, he would only have a chance if he killed his way out. Wan Tingting's mother, who was a level 9 martial king, and Wan Tingting joined forces to defeat the two men. You still dare to fight back? Let's attack together. Solo waved his hand. Immediately, the people behind them all made their moves. There were more than 10 of them. 3 of them were peak-tier kings, while the others were late-stage kings. With so many experts, Wan Tingting's group of 3 couldn't rush out at once. Chapter 763. 763 Chapter 763 All of you must die. Buzz. At this moment, a small dagger suddenly appeared in Wan Tingting's hand. The dagger danced in the air, shooting out rays of cold light that were extremely sharp. Puchi. One of the burly men was swept by the sharp light, and one of his arms was cut off. He retreated while screaming in pain. 6th level spiritual weapon. How do you have a 6th level spiritual weapon? Damn it, take them down. This 6th level spiritual weapon is mine. Yi Qing shrieked, her eyes revealing a greedy light. Wan Tingting's spirit weapon was naturally from the storage rings of those Sea of Soul realm martial artists that she had previously obtained. Wan Tingting was controlling a 6th level spiritual weapon, and her combat power had already suppressed the other peak-tier kings. She was about to rush out. However, at this moment, a series of ear-piercing sounds came from behind them. At least a few dozen figures were flying over at extreme speed. 2 of them had auras as deep as the ocean, and they were all at the spiritual ocean tier. Yi Fa, the Grand Master of the Wind Sword sect, and Su Luo's father, Su Tingshan. Wan Tingting's family revealed a look of despair. Not only did your family betray the sect, but you also injured your fellow disciples. This is a heinous crime. Take them all down. Yi Fa ordered. More than a dozen figures flew out from behind Yi Fa, and more than half of them were peak-tier kings. Tingting, run. I'll hold them back. Ruan Tingting's father roared and rushed toward the dozen or so figures. Father! Ruan Tingting shouted. Go quickly, Tingting, you can't marry the two monsters of Qinghe River, go quickly. Ruan Tingting's father roared, and the aura on his body became violent. Not good, he's going to self-destruct. Someone exclaimed. You're looking for death. At this time, Su Tingshan took a big step forward and pressed down with his palm. A palm print as big as a mountain hit Ruan Tingting's father. Ruan Tingting's father coughed out a large mouthful of blood, and his body made a cracking sound. Father, don't. Ruan Tingting shouted. Let's go, let's go. Ruan Tingting's father ignored his injuries and rushed over madly. Ruan Zhen, since you're looking for death, I'll fulfill your wish. Su Tingshan took a step forward and pointed out his finger. The terrifying finger force was like a sharp sword, shooting toward Ruan Tingting's father. The finger force pierced through Ruan Zhen's chest and pierced through his heart. Hurry, let's go. Ruan Zhen spat out his last words before his life was extinguished and he fell to the ground. No, no, no. Ruan Tingting's eyes were bloodshot as she screamed madly. Brother Zhen. Ruan Tingting's mother also shouted and ran toward Ruan Zhen's body. Even without your parents, you still want to go to Mount Qinghe. I will kill your parents now and seal your cultivation. 2 days later, I will send you to Mount Qinghe. Su Tingshan strode forward and pointed out his finger again. Just as Ruan Tingting's mother caught Ruan Zhen's body, she was pierced through by the finger force and fell to the ground. She turned around to look at Ruan Tingting for the last time before her life force dissipated. Father, mother, ah! I want you all dead. Su Tingshan. Ruan Tingting screamed crazily. Her eyes were filled with killing intent. She rushed towards Su Tingshan crazily. The qi on her body was extremely violent. How is it possible for you to self-destruct in front of me? Su Tingshan coldly snorted and struck out a palm. Ruan Tingting's entire body trembled and she coughed up a large amount of blood. Her body flew far away. Her cultivation had been sealed by Su Tingshan's true essence. A burly man flew forward and caught Ruan Tingting. From the beginning to the end, Yi Fa looked on coldly. Kill me. Alright, take her away and lock her up. Yi Fa waved his hand. Whoever dares to touch Tingting, I will kill him. At this moment, a deafening roar reverberated in the air. A terrifying killing intent permeated the air from outside the Wind Sword sect. It was as if an unparalleled beast had awakened. 4 figures instantly appeared in this place. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Kang Jin, and Qiao Xian had finally arrived. Let go of your dirty hands. Kang Jin's body exuded a terrifying aura. The huge axe in his hand was covered in blood. A Wind Sword sect disciple had tried to stop him earlier, but he had been chopped off by his axe. At this moment, the ferocity on his body was extremely thick. His figure moved and appeared in front of the burly man who had grabbed Ruan Tingting. The burly man was shocked and was about to retreat, but a large hand reached out and grabbed his neck. With a crack, the peak-tier king's neck was snapped. Kang Jin took advantage of the situation and pulled Ruan Tingting into his arms. Tingting, are you okay? Kang Jin looked at Ruan Tingting worriedly. Father, mother. Tears streamed down Ruan Tingting's face as she looked at her parents' corpses in a daze. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming's aura was like a mountain. He strode forward, and the world rumbled. He did not hide his cold killing intent at all. A bunch of trash. Today, all of you will die. Lu Ming's voice was cold and emotionless. It's you little bastards. How dare you trespass into the Wind Sword sect? Tell me, did you collude with that bitch Wantingting to plot against the Wind Sword sect? Su Luo pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and clenched his fist in the air. Su Luo suddenly felt that he was bound by a force and his body was flying toward Lu Ming rapidly. Ah, father, save me! Sulo was scared and shouted in fear. Brat, let go of my son. Su Tingshan strode forward and wanted to help. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch with his other hand. A ray of fist radiance flew out and hit Su Tingshan, sending him flying backward. The next moment, Su Luo fell into Lu Ming's hands. He had his throat in Lu Ming's grasp. Speak, who killed the two of them? Lu Ming pointed at the corpses of Ruan Tingting's parents and asked Su Luo. Brat, how dare you grab me? Put me down. You're looking for death, do you know that? Sulo shouted. A blast of energy shot out and cut off Sulo's arm. Sulo let out a hysterical scream. Speak. Lu Ming's cold killing intent grew stronger. Ah, I'll tell you, I'll tell you. My father killed him. It's my father. It's not my fault. Su Luo screamed and betrayed Su Tingshan. Su Tingshan's face turned pale as he roared, Kid, let go of my son. Otherwise, I guarantee that you won't be able to walk out of the Wind Sword sect. At this moment, two more powerful auras descended. They were two extremely powerful elders from the Wind Sword sect. Oh, really? I'd like to see how you're going to prevent me from leaving the Wind Sword sect. Lu Ming sneered and his palm burst with energy. Bang! Su Luo exploded in Lu Ming's hands and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Luo, damn it, I want you to pay with your life. Su Tingshan roared with red eyes. Chapter 764. 764 Personally take revenge in the future. Kill. Lu Ming was too lazy to talk nonsense. He strode forward and charged towards Su Tingshan. Sect Master, Elders, let's attack together and kill this brat. Su Tingshan's face changed as he shouted. He had just received a punch from Lu Ming and was rather fearful of him. Attack! The other two patriarchs made their moves. At the same time, Su Tingshan made his move as well. The three of them joined forces and attacked Lu Ming. The two elders were at the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean realm, while Su Tingshan was at the late stage. Yi Fa didn't make a move, he just stood at the side. When the three of them joined forces, their momentum was grand and their power was boundless. Their momentum was extremely shocking. However, Lu Ming did not even blink. His face was still cold as he stared at Su Tingshan. Just as the three of them were about to land their attacks on Lu Ming, he threw 3 punches. With 3 miserable shrieks, Su Tingshan and the other two were sent flying far away while spitting out blood. Why would I? The Wind Sword sect members were dumbfounded as they watched this scene in shock. This young man was actually so terrifying, heavily injuring 3 spiritual ocean tier elders with one move. This was too inconceivable. No one can save you today. Lu Ming walked towards Su Tingshan, step by step. Su Tingshan's heart trembled, and his face turned pale. He retreated frantically and shouted, Sect Master, save me. Yi Fa's expression turned ugly. Lu Ming had injured 3 elders in one move. Even he could not do it. His cultivation was only at the early stage of the second level of the spiritual ocean tier. Retreat, quickly asked the ancestor to come out of the mountain. Yi Fa roared and retreated with his men, ignoring Su Tingshan. Sect Master. Su Tingshan shouted in despair. What are you shouting for? Lu Ming took a step forward and his figure appeared in front of Su Tingshan. He struck his palm at Su Tingshan. Su Tingshan tried his best to resist, but it was useless. He was struck down by Lu Ming's palm and crashed heavily into the mountain below the Wind Sword sect, creating a huge pit that was dozens of meters wide. Lu Ming's hand glowed, and a long spear condensed from vital essence appeared. With a wave of his hand, the long spear shot out like lightning and flew down Su Tingshan, piercing his dantian. Boom! Su Tingshan's dantian seemed to have let out a loud boom. Lu Ming had pierced through his spirit ocean and it exploded. His spiritual ocean was broken, and his cultivation was crippled. Su Tingshan screamed hysterically. The rest of the Wind Sword sect disciples turned pale. A spiritual ocean tier elder was as weak as a baby in Lu Ming's hands. Yi Fei's eyes were filled with humiliation. However, he did not dare to make a move. In his eyes, Lu Ming was unfathomable and gave him immense pressure. He had a feeling that if he made a move, he would end up like Su Tingshan. Therefore, he retreated and waited for help. Yi Qing's face was also extremely pale, but her eyes were filled with jealousy. She was jealous of Ruan Tingting. Why did such a powerful young master stand up for her, but she didn't? You won't be able to escape. Xian Yanqing's figure suddenly appeared not far from Yi Fei and pressed down with one hand. Boom! The sky demon power field was released, and a huge pressure enveloped Yi Fei and the others. Some of them screamed in pain. Under the immense pressure, their bones were broken and they coughed up blood. Even Yi Fei's face changed dramatically. He had to use all his Jin Yuan to block the attack. Charge! One of the elders who had been injured by Lu Ming roared and tried to break through the sky demon power field. However, in the next moment, the other Wind Sword sect disciples widened their eyes in horror. That was because they saw that the lower half of the elder's body had charged out, but his lower half was still in place. He had been cut in half at the waist. The elder also saw this scene and let out a shrill and terrified scream. However, he did not die immediately. You'd better not move. Xian Yanqing said coldly. Yi Fei's face turned ashen. Who were these people? It was too terrifying. He felt that any one of them could easily kill him. Could it be that Ruan Tingting asked a few friends to help the Wind Sword sect compete? Yi Fei had a feeling that he was wrong this time. But now that things had come to this, he could only brace himself and continue. Now, he could only hope that the Wind Sword sect's Grandmaster would arrive as soon as possible. The Wind Sword sect's Patriarch had a cultivation at the peak third level of the spiritual ocean tier. He could definitely kill these kids. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the half-dead Su Tingshan, throwing him in front of Ruan Tingting. This person needed Ruan Tingting to kill. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Yi Fei and the others. Today, all of you will die. There's no need for the Wind Sword sect to remain in this world. The infinite dragon spear appeared in Lu Ming's hands. The spear's radiance soared into the sky. Today, he was going to flatten the Wind Sword sect. Lu Ming. At this moment, a voice came from behind. It was Ruan Tingting. At this moment, Ruan Tingting's cultivation had been unsealed. Her eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. She said, Lu Ming, don't kill them. I'll take revenge with my own hands. One day, I'll flatten the Wind Sword sect and avenge my parents. Lu Ming was slightly stunned. He then nodded. All right. Lu Ming understood that Ruan Tingting had to take revenge on her own. This way, she would not have any inner demons in her heart that would hinder her future cultivation. As for Su Tingshan, you will die today. Ruan Tingting's eyes turned to Su Tingshan. No, help! Su Tingshan shouted. He knew all too well about Ruan Tingting and Ruanjin's background. They didn't have any powerful friends, so he killed them without any restraint. He never dreamed that he would provoke such terrifying fiends. Now, he was filled with regret. Puchi. Ruan Tingting's sword light pierced through Su Tingshan's heart, and the sword cheek crushed his heart into pieces. Su Tingshan's eyes were wide open as he shouted unwillingly. Then, he stopped breathing. Yi Fa, just you wait. I will personally destroy the Wind Sword sect and make you pay for your actions. Ruan Tingting's eyes were extremely cold, revealing a bone-deep hatred and killing intent. Seeing such a gaze, even Yi Fa, who had lived for many years, could not help but tremble. Wait a minute, this woman, I don't feel comfortable looking at her. Lu Ming's gaze turned to Yi Qing. He reached out and caught Yi Qing in his hand. Don't kill me, father, save me. No. Yi Qing screamed crazily, her face pale and bloodless. Release Qing, now. Otherwise, the Wind Sword sect will not rest until you die. Yi Fa roared as his Zhen Yuan exploded. Don't worry, I won't kill her. I'll leave her life to Tingting. Lu Ming sneered. He pointed his finger and directly crippled Yi Qing's cultivation. Didn't you want to obtain a spot to enter the 100 Venerated Mountains? Could he still enter after his cultivation was crippled? Get lost. Lu Ming swung his arm and threw Yi Qing out. Yi Qing screamed in despair. Her original goal was to sacrifice Ruan Tingting to fulfill her wish and let her enter the 100 Venerates Mountain. Perhaps she would be able to obtain a great opportunity in the 100 Venerates Mountain and rise to the top. She was full of hope. But now, there was no more hope, only despair. Even if there was a spot, it was useless to her. Let's go. Ruan Tingting carried her parents' corpses and flew out of the Wind Sword sect with Lu Ming and the rest. Chapter 765. 765 Chapter 765 Sea Cloud Sect. To the south of Grand Assembly City, on a mountain peak 10,000 miles away, two cemeteries had appeared. Ruan Tingting knelt quietly in front of the Ruanjin couple's grave for a day and a night. She did not cry or shed any tears. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Kang Jin, and Xiao Xian stood by the side to accompany him. After a day and a night, Ruan Tingting stood up and cupped her fists at Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and the others. Thank you, everyone, for this. Tingting, we're friends. You don't have to be so polite. Unfortunately, we were one step too late. Lu Ming sighed. If they had been a step earlier, Ruan Tingting's parents might not have died. Tingting, where do you plan to go next? Xiao Xian pulled on Ruan Tingting's hand and asked with concern. I don't know either. I need to find a place to cultivate. I must raise the Wind Sword sect to the ground. Ruan Tingting said through gritted teeth. How about this? The 100 Venerated Mountains is an opportunity. We will assist a force to obtain a place to enter the 100 Venerated Mountains to cultivate. This way, your cultivation speed will definitely increase. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said to Ruan Tingting. That's a good idea. Kang Jin said. How about this? You guys come with me to the Sea Cloud sect, and I'll report this to my father. My father's been looking for outside help all this time, and it's impossible for my Cloud Sea sect to obtain a spot. If you guys join and obtain a spot, then it'll all be yours. How about it? Xiao Xian said. That's possible, but we don't want all the spots. 4 will be enough. Kang Jin quickly nodded. After that, everyone left the place and flew toward the Sea Cloud sect. On the way, they discussed the details. After they arrived at the Sea Cloud sect, Xiao Xian arranged a place for Lu Ming and the others to stay, then she went to report to her father. More than an hour later, Xiao Xian returned and said that her father wanted to meet Lu Ming and the rest. Many people in the Sea Cloud sect knew Ruan Tingting, so there was no need for her to go. Xian Yanqing was not interested in her, so only Lu Ming and Kang Jin followed Xiao Xian to the Sea Cloud sect's meeting hall. In the conference hall of the Sea Cloud sect, Qiao Xian's father, Qiao Long, was not the only one sitting there. There were also 5 or 6 elders of the Sea Cloud sect. Sect head, do you really believe that Xian is acquainted with some powerful being? That girl Xian friends, do you think we don't know? They're all young people around his age. A middle-aged man said to Qiao Long. That's right, although my Sea Cloud sect is weak, we can't just randomly invite people to fill the numbers. Another elder said. This time, Xian is very serious. She said that she knows a few strong practitioners who can easily kill an expert at the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean tier and are unfathomable. That's why I called you guys along to meet them. Qiao Long said. The Sea Cloud sect could only be considered a lower-tier power among the dozen or so forces around the Grand Gathering City. The strongest in the sect was only at the peak second level of the spiritual ocean tier. It was almost impossible for them to get a spot in the 100 venerated mountains this time. However, they were unwilling to give up. After all, this spot was extremely precious to small forces like them. They wanted to fight for it. During this period of time, he had been constantly seeking outside help, and had practically run all over the area around Grand Gathering City. There were even some powerful itinerant cultivators near other cities who wanted to ask them for help, but they were all rejected. If he had to choose those experts, he would naturally choose the powerful forces. During this period of time, he had spent a huge sum of money and a huge price, but he had only managed to invite an expert at the early stage of the third level of the spiritual ocean tier to help. The moment he heard Qiao Xian say that she knew a few strong practitioners who could easily kill the first level of the spiritual ocean tier, he was naturally a little moved and wanted to meet them. To be able to easily kill someone at the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean tier, his battle prowess definitely wouldn't be weaker than the late stage of the second level of the spiritual ocean tier, or even the peak of the second level of the spiritual ocean tier. If they could help the Sea Cloud sect in battle, they would be a great force. They're here. An elder said. Then, Qiao Xian brought Lu Ming and Kong Jin into the room. The people in the hall were immediately stunned. They didn't expect that the people Qiao Xian had brought would be 2 young men, and they looked like they were in their early 20s. Xian, are they the few powerful beings you mentioned? A middle-aged man was the first to speak. Elder Hua, that's right, they are Xian's friends. Qiao Xian said. Nonsense. Xian. This battle is no small matter. All the major powers will send out their strongest forces and it will be extremely dangerous. Your friends are too young. If something happens to them, how are you going to explain it to their elders? Qiao Long berated. Father, Lu Ming, Kong Jin and the others are very strong. They can easily kill martial artists at the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean tier. Qiao Xian said. Lu Ming. Qiao Long's gaze flickered. He seemed to feel that the name Lu Ming sounded familiar, but he could not recall it at the moment. He can easily kill a martial artist at the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean tier. Xian, you're really getting out of hand. Do you know how strong the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean tier is? How can he be killed so easily? Elder Hua shook his head and laughed. The Wind Sword sect's matter had already been sealed off from the entire sect. They would naturally not spread such an embarrassing matter everywhere. As such, Qiao Long and the others did not know what had happened in the Wind Sword sect. The other elders also shook their heads and laughed. They felt that Qiao Xian was still young and didn't understand many things. It was normal to hear rumors. They did not think that Lu Ming and the rest could easily kill a martial artist at the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean realm. So young and with such battle power, he was most likely a heaven's favorite. How could Qiao Xian know him? Xian, take your friends with you. If they want to play in the Sea Cloud sect, that's fine too. Take them around. Qiao Long said with a smile. Sect leader Qiao, how do you know that Qiao Xian is lying if you haven't tried? If we miss it, wouldn't we be missing out on a great opportunity? At this moment, Lu Ming smiled and cupped his fists. That's right, Sect Master Qiao. It's not that I'm bragging, but not to mention the peak of the first level of the spiritual ocean tier, even the peak of the second level of the spiritual ocean tier would be split in half with this axe of mine. Kong Jin grinned. Young man, you're quite arrogant. Let me test you. Elder Hua stood up, and a powerful aura emanated from his body. Early stage of the second level of the spiritual ocean tier. This Elder Hua was one of the top experts in the Sea Cloud sect. Bang! Bang! Elder Hua took a few steps forward and threw a punch at Kong Jin. This punch moved the air, and it was like a mountain crashing toward Kong Jin. Kong Jin's mouth twitched slightly as he casually threw a punch. Bang! When the two fists collided, Elder Hua's expression changed and he was forced to retreat a dozen steps. Qiao Long and the other elders were greatly alarmed and stood up from their seats one after another. Kong Jin had actually forced Elder Hua back with a casual punch. Hey, uncle, use your full strength. This is boring. Kong Jin casually said. Alright, watch my fist. Elder Hua's expression was serious. He took a deep breath and his body emitted a blue light. His intent combined with his true essence and he threw a punch at Kong Jin. This punch was several times stronger than before. However, Kong Jin still casually threw out a punch. In the end, Elder Hua was still forced to retreat. This time, he retreated even further, more than 20 steps. Lu Ming said, his tone full of confidence. He had a rough idea of the forces near Grand Gathering City. He was 100% confident that he would be in the top 3. Qiao Long and the rest looked at each other. Lu Ming was too confident. Alright, I agree to this condition. After a slight hesitation, Qiao Long agreed. Without the help of Lu Ming and the rest, they would not have been able to get into the top 6. By then, there would not have been a single spot. This competition is a group battle. It's a competition of the comprehensive strength of each force. Each force will send 9 experts to fight at the same time. Only by defeating the opponent will you win. Therefore, the battle formation is very important. This time, there are 3 of you and I will send 6 experts. I wonder when you will have the time to practice battle formations together. Qiao Long said. Sect Master Qiao, I have a battle formation here. As long as you use it, it can form a powerful defensive force. It might be suitable for this competition. You can let the others practice it first. Lu Ming took out a jade tablet and waved it around. He infused the array's execution into the jade tablet and threw it to Qiao Long. Qiao Long's expression changed when he took it and read it. He had some attainments in the Tao of inscriptions, so he could tell with a glance that this formation was extremely profound. It was a level 6 formation and was much more exquisite than the one he had obtained. Thank you, young hero Lu. If you have any other requests, please let me know. Qiao Long was in a good mood and said with a smile. No need, Sect Master Qiao, we'll be taking our leave. Lu Ming cupped his fists and left the place with Kong Jin. They returned to their residence. Sect leader, I think these 2 are definitely Heaven's Pride experts. Although the list of top 1,000 talents doesn't have their names, there have been many new Heaven's Pride experts recently. Elder Hua said. Yes, there's no mistake. You haven't heard, have you? The name of the strongest Esper on the Heavenly King list this year is Lu Ming. Qiao Long said. What? The others were even more shocked. Of course, there was also ecstasy. If that was the case, then the Sea Clouds sect had really picked up a treasure this time. No matter if they could get a ranking or not, being able to make friends with such a peerless genius was beneficial to a small force like the Sea Clouds sect. After Lu Ming and Kong Jin returned to their residence, they began to cultivate. After Wan Tingting experienced this, she became even more hardworking in her cultivation and stayed in her room every day. Lu Ming and the rest did not participate in the battle formation practice as there was no need to. Qiao Long and the rest thought that Lu Ming and the rest were familiar with battle formations and did not say much. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. There was still 1 day left before the competition. At this moment, Qiao Xian came to invite Lu Ming and the rest to meet the other 6 participants of the competition and get to know them. Sea Cloud sect, on a huge square. When Lu Ming and the other 2 arrived, they saw 6 figures standing in different positions in the square. Their figures flickered and their auras intersected, merging and linking together. They were rehearsing the battle formation that Lu Ming had given Qiao Long back then. One was at the early stage of the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier, 2 were at the peak of the 2nd level of the spiritual ocean tier, 2 were at the middle and early stage of the 2nd level of the spiritual ocean tier, and 1 was at the peak of the 1st level of the spiritual ocean tier. Elder Hua was one of them. Qiao Long stood to the side and watched. 3 young heroes, you've come. Qiao Long looked at Lu Ming and the rest and smiled. Lu Ming and the rest nodded. Hoo. A moment later, the battle formation drill ended, and an old man with white hair strode over. This person is the external helper my father invited. His name is Yu Bo, and his cultivation is at the early stage of the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier. Qiao Xian introduced them to Lu Ming and the rest in a low voice. Chapter 767. 767 One move is enough. Sect Master Qiao, could these 3 still wet behind the ears be the external help you were talking about? Yu Ba cast a contemptuous glance at Lu Ming and the rest. Senior Yu, it's the 3 of them. Qiao Long frowned at Yu Ba's attitude, but he still replied. Sect leader Qiao, I don't know what you're thinking. You actually invited 3 little fellows. Even if you don't want to fight for a spot, don't joke around with the lives of the rest. It's very dangerous to step onto the battle stage. What do you mean by asking 3 trash to drag us down? Yu Ba said in an unfriendly tone. Hey, old man, who are you calling trash? You're the one who's a fucking piece of trash. Kong Jin was furious when he heard Yu Ba calling them trash. Junior, you still dare to talk back? Let me ask you, why haven't you come and practice battle formations together? If you're not trash, then what are you doing if you're not dragging us down? Yu Ba berated loudly, taking advantage of his seniority. We don't practice the battle formation because we don't need to practice at all. Do you know the main purpose of this battle formation? Lu Ming chuckled and said indifferently. The purpose of the battle formation is to increase our combat power and fight against the enemy. Yu Ba said. Wrong. Lu Ming shook his head and said, the purpose of this battle formation is to strengthen your defense. To put it bluntly, it's to strengthen your defense so that you can protect yourself. You can leave the matter of fighting the enemy to us. Not only were the others stunned, but so were Yu Ba and Qiao Long. Qiao Long finally understood that Lu Ming's goal was to get the others to strengthen their defense. He did not expect them to help defeat the enemy at all. Even though he had guessed Lu Ming's identity, he still felt that Lu Ming was too confident. Ha. Yu Ba laughed even more crazily. Ignorant, boastful, and arrogant. I'd like to see what you're capable of. Fatty, I'm not interested in this kind of trash. I'll leave him to you. You can finish him in 5 moves. No problem, right? Lu Ming said in the air. 5 moves. 1 move is enough. Kong Jin grinned. Leave it to me. Xian Yanqing said as he strolled out. Yuba's mouth twitched in anger. What's wrong with these kids? It was as if he was made of mud. She said 5 moves and she would take him down in 1 move. Did she think he was just a decoration? Little girl, get lost. Yubo shouted, and the powerful aura of the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier exploded. The other people's expressions changed and they retreated. Boom! Yubo reached out his hand and formed a huge claw, grabbing at Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing stretched out a small white hand and pressed forward. Buzz! The terrifying pressure of the sky demon power field suddenly descended, and then the destructive cutting power burst out. Xian Yanqing's destruction and wind mentality had already merged successfully. Now that he had broken through to Sea of Soul Realm, the sky demon power field and the destructive cutting power were many times stronger than before. Bang! Bang! Yuba's hand, which was formed from true energy and will, exploded. The destructive force hit him and almost cut him in half. He screamed and flew out, coughing up blood. He looked at Xian Yanqing in fear. Just now, he really felt that he was almost cut in 2. He didn't know that Xian Yanqing had been merciful just now. Otherwise, he would have been cut in 2. Let's go. Lu Ming turned around and left. Xian Yanqing and Kong Jin left with Lu Ming, leaving behind a bunch of dumbfounded people. It was too terrifying. They had already tried their best to overestimate Lu Ming and the rest. In the end, they realized that they had still underestimated them. The combat strength of Lu Ming and the others was simply unfathomable. Even Yobua, who was at the early stage of the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean realm, was easily defeated. It was a complete crushing. They couldn't help but be filled with anticipation for this competition. Perhaps, they could really charge into the top 3. Yuba's face turned green and red. Finally, he waved his hand and said, Sect Master Qiao, since you have such a heaven's favorite, why do you still need me? This time, I'll back out. I won't accept any of the treasures you've given me. Then, he strode away. However, Qiao Long had no intention of keeping him. If it was before, he would definitely try his best to keep Yuba. After all, he had spent a lot of effort to invite Yuba over, and he was also the only expert at the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier from the Sea Cloud sect. But now, he realized that there was no need. Yubo's presence didn't seem to affect the overall situation much. If Yubo left, he could just find a random spiritual ocean tier martial artist to join. It was enough as long as Lu Ming and the other 2 were there. A day passed in the blink of an eye. The contest for the spots in the 100 venerated mountains had officially begun. This time, a total of 36 forces around the 3 cities, including Grand Gathering City, were competing, and only the top 6 would get a spot. In first place, there were 8 Ming-er. The second place had 6 spots. The third place had 5 spots. The fourth and fifth place had 4 spots each, while the sixth place only had 3 spots. There were a total of 30 spots. The venue was on a mountain peak at the junction of the 3 cities. This mountain peak was called Juping Peak. The top of Juping Peak was very flat. There was a huge battle stage built on it, and there were many audience seats around it. In the past, all the major events in the 3 major cities would be held on Juping Peak. On this day, Juping Peak was packed with people. The 36 forces were clearly divided and sat around each other. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Kong Jin sat among the Sea Cloud sect's crowd and looked around. Not far away from them, there were people from the Wind Sword sect, 2 forces apart. The 2 monsters of the Clear River. I don't know what method the Wind Sword sect used, but they actually managed to invite the 2 monsters of the Clear River. Qiao Xian looked in the direction of the Wind Sword sect and said in a low voice. Lu Ming looked over and saw that Yi Fa was sitting at the top of the Wind Sword sect's group. Below him were many Wind Sword sect disciples and elders. Among them were 2 skinny old men in green robes. Their eyes were cold and they would occasionally glance at Lu Ming and the others. Yi Qing from the Wind Sword sect was among them. She looked at Lu Ming and the rest with a venomous gaze. Ting, don't worry. If the Wind Sword sect meets us this time, we'll definitely cripple them. It's impossible for them to get a spot. Also, those 2 monsters of Qinghe are dead for sure. Kong Jin revealed a ferocious smile. Wan Tingting nodded, her eyes filled with hatred. Wind Sword Sect District. Seniors, the 3 juniors of the Sea Cloud sect can't be underestimated. Their battle power is very strong. If you encounter them, try to kill them. Yi Fa said to the 2 monsters. Don't worry, hee, that girl is really beautiful, even more beautiful than that girl Wan Tingting. The 2 of us must get her. The boss of the Qinghe twins laughed coldly as he looked at Xian Yanqing with a pair of evil eyes. When the time comes, as long as we kill those 2 brats, that little girl will be yours to play with. Yi Fa laughed as a cold light flashed in his eyes. Chapter 768. 768 Start of the team battle. This time, after losing Wan Tingting, he had to pay a huge price in order to hire the 2 monsters of Qinghe. His heart ached at the thought of the price he had paid. It was all that bitch Wan Tingting's fault. It was all Lu Ming's fault for interfering. Otherwise, he would not have to pay such a huge price. He was determined to win this competition. Other than his daughter, Yi Qing, he had 2 sons. He had to fight for the spots to enter the 100 Zuns mountain for his 2 sons. Only in this way could his Yi family continue to prosper. Yi Fa's mouth revealed a smug sneer. Others didn't know, but he, the Yi family's ancestor, had actually broken through a few days ago, from the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier to the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier, his battle prowess greatly increasing. This way, the Wind Sword sect's strength would increase greatly. This time, not only did the Wind Sword sect want to be in the top 6, but they also wanted to be in the top 3, or even the 1st place. Just as he was lost in his thoughts, a figure appeared in the sky, exuding a terrifying pressure. The judge arrived. Someone would be sent from deep inside 9 dragons to host their competition. In the depths of 9 dragons, there were 3 dragon veins. They did not belong to any force, but to the Detian royal guards, who were directly under Martial Emperor De. Even the 6 great ancient families didn't have the right to mobilize this force. It was extremely terrifying. This judgment would belong to the Imperial Guards of Detian. Detian's Imperial Guards could also be said to be the core strength of the Ditian Divine Guards. The leaders of the 36 forces stood up and paid their respects. Yes, I won't say much. The competition for the 100 venerated mountains will begin now. There are a total of 36 forces. The members of your respective forces, please step forward. If anyone dies in the middle of the battle, you can't continue to change people. The judge announced. Immediately, the members of the 36 forces rose and flew to the center of the fighting ring. Lu Ming's group and the other 6 people from the Sea Cloud sect flew up to the fighting ring and stood in a row. Everyone's eyes were sizing up the people on the fighting stage, observing the opponents and the experts on the other side. This time, many powerful rogue cultivators have been invited. The major forces have really paid a huge price. That's right. Look, the Wind Sword sect has invited the 2 monsters of the Clear River. Their boss is at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. He's a formidable opponent. There's also the Scarlet Moon sect. The Scarlet Moon sect invited 6-fingered cultivator, who's also an expert at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. The most terrifying one is the Intentionless Mansion. The Intentionless Mansion has always been known as the strongest force among the 36 forces. They already have 2 experts at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. This time, a few unfamiliar faces have appeared in the team. I wonder what their cultivation is. Many people were looking at the fighting ring and discussing. Around the 3 cities, there were 36 forces. They were all small forces. Usually, with an expert at the peak 3rd level of the spiritual ocean realm holding the fort, they were considered a superior force. With an expert at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean realm, they were considered a top force. Ha, look, the Sea Clouds sect actually sent out 3 young men in their 20s. It seems like the Sea Clouds sect really has no one left. Yeah, but with the Sea Clouds sect's strength, they only care about participating. They probably didn't think about fighting for a spot. I guess so, just to make up the numbers. Many people laughed when they saw the Sea Clouds sect's formation. Apart from the Sea Clouds sect, none of the 36 forces present were under 30 years old. Qiao Long, if your Sea Clouds sect doesn't have anyone, you can go yourself. Why send a few juniors to their deaths? The Iron Bone sect's sect master, who was a faction beside the Sea Clouds sect, laughed and looked at Qiao Long. The Iron Bone sect had always had a grudge against the Sea Clouds sect. Although they were slightly stronger than the Sea Clouds sect, they had also invited a few experts this time. Now that they saw that the Sea Clouds sect had even invited a few juniors, they naturally had to seize the opportunity to mock them. Perhaps Brother Qiao just wants to go through the motions and admit defeat as soon as the competition starts. Nothing will happen. On the other side, the sect leader of the Red Moon sect mocked. Usually, the sect masters and family masters of the major forces would not participate in the battle. After all, they were the masters of a sect. If they were to go to battle and died in battle, it would have a great impact. The battle hasn't started yet. Don't say it's so early, or you'll be embarrassed later. Qiao Long said calmly. Qiao Long, if that's the case, could those juniors be peerless geniuses? Ha. The sect leader of the Iron Bone sect laughed even louder, his laughter filled with mockery. Heaven's pride? There were not many people in the entire East continent who could be called a Heaven's favorite. As for the Sea of Souls realm Heaven's favorites, only the top 600 were on the list of top 1,000 talents. Even if you included some new talents, there were less than 1,000 people. Among these 1,000 people, the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Talisman Amulet sect made up a portion, and the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace was only a small portion. How could a small Sea Clouds sect invite a genius? Not only did the Iron Bone sect master not believe it, but the other forces also did not believe it. They're looking down on us. I'll let Lu Ming and the rest teach them a lesson and give them a big surprise. Xiao Xian and Ruan Tingting were sitting together. At this moment, she was pouting and snorting coldly, very unhappy. Yes, you guys go back to your seats. The judge in the sky looked at it and nodded. Lu Ming and the rest returned to their seats. The rules this time are very simple. There are a total of 36 forces. I will call names later. The 2 forces that are called will fight against each other. The winner will advance and the loser will be eliminated. In the second round, there are only 18 forces left. Similarly, they will fight in pairs to determine the top 9. In the end, the top 9 will take turns to fight each other. The top 6 will be ranked according to their battle results, and they will be able to obtain a spot to enter the 100 Venerated Mountains. Now, let's begin. After the announcement of the referee, he swept his gaze across the court and called out a name. The Crimson Moon sect against the Zhang family. After the names were called, 2 forces immediately went up. One was the Red Moon sect, and the other was the Zhang family. The Zhang family is going to lose for sure. The Zhang family isn't strong to begin with, and the Red Moon sect already has 2 patriarchs at the peak 3rd level of the spiritual ocean realm. They even invited 6 fingers. This time, they have the hope of entering the top 6. That's right, but this is more reasonable. Eliminate the weak, and the strong advance. The crowd discussed animatedly as they looked at the fighting ring. The 9 people of the Zhang family had very serious expressions. As soon as they got on the stage, their figures changed and they formed a battle formation. Hee, the difference in strength is so great that it can't be changed by a single battle formation. Attack directly and crush them. In the Scarlet Moon sect, there was a green-haired old man with 6 fingers. He was 6 fingers loose cultivator. He strode forward in a domineering and overbearing manner, crushing the Zhang family's battle formation in a brutal way. The Zhang family's strongest were only 2 middle 3rd level spiritual ocean tier martial artists. They were no match for them at all. Not long after, the battle formation was broken, and one of their 3rd level spiritual ocean tier martial artists was killed by Six Fingered's trio. The others were shocked and quickly admitted defeat. There was a rule in the 9-person team battle. As long as 5 out of 9 people admitted defeat, they could admit defeat. More than half of the people had to admit defeat. Otherwise, it was not considered as admitting defeat and the other party could continue to attack. Chapter 769. 769 Fatty's Rage. The Crimson Moon sect won easily. Next, the judge selected 2 more forces to fight. The difference in strength between these 2 forces was quite large, so it was easy to determine the winner. Following that, the competition continued. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 matches had been fought. Next, the Sea Cloud sect versus the Iron Bone sect. The judge's voice was heard. Ha, Qiao Long, I didn't expect to fight against your Sea Cloud sect. This is what I want. The sect leader of the Iron Bone sect laughed heartily. Qiao Long was slightly taken aback, then sneered. This sentence is exactly what I wanted to say. Buzz. Whoosh. With a flash, 9 people from each side jumped onto the fighting ring. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing stood behind the formation, looking at each other. The Iron Bone sect did invite a few experts. 2 of them were at the late 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier, and 1 more was at the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier. The rest were all at the 2nd level of the spiritual ocean tier. In contrast, the strongest on Lu Ming's side was only at the peak 2nd level of the spiritual ocean realm. There were as many as 5 people at the 1st level of the spiritual ocean realm. Ha, Sea Cloud sect, I advise you to admit defeat. There's no suspense in this battle. A burly man from the Iron Bone sect laughed. The last part of your sentence is right. There is no suspense in this battle. However, you are the ones who have lost. You should quickly admit defeat and reduce some losses. Fatty Kong Jin grinned as he carried his battle axe. Ha, Fatty, what did you just say? You want us to admit defeat? Is there something wrong with your head? The burly man from the Iron Bone sect laughed, his laughter filled with mockery. Around the fighting ring, the people from the other forces also laughed. The Sea Cloud sect's lineup was too horrible to look at. They had 5 people at the 1st level of the spiritual ocean tier. It could be said that they were one of the worst forces out of the 36. And that Fatty actually shamelessly said that he wanted the Iron Bone sect to admit defeat? It was too funny. You dare to talk to me like that? Hee, I'll remember that. Kong Jin looked at the burly man and smiled hideously. Don't attack. I alone am enough to defeat them. The burly man from the Iron Bone sect stepped forward with a cold look in his eyes. Boom. Boom. As he stepped forward, the battle platform rumbled. The aura of the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier exploded out, and a battle axe appeared in his hand. With his cultivation at the late 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier, he alone was enough to defeat the Sea Cloud sect's lineup. Lu Ming, you guys don't do anything. Let me do it alone. Kong Jin shouted. He carried his battle axe and rushed forward. The people watching the battle were speechless. This fatty was really boasting shamelessly. With a mere first-level spiritual ocean tier cultivation, he actually declared that he would defeat the 9 people from the Iron Bones sect by himself? How was that possible? The people from the Iron Bones sect even revealed mocking smiles. Kill! The burly man from the Iron Bones sect shouted. His voice was like thunder as he swung his axe at Kong Jin. Kong Jin laughed hideously. With a wave of his hand, the door-sized battle axe slashed forward. Clang! Bang! The 2 battle axes collided with a clang. Then, a shocking scene appeared. The battle axe in the burly man's hand directly exploded into pieces and scattered in all directions. However, the battle axe did not stop and continued to chop down. No! The burly man shouted in fear. Poochie! The next moment, he was directly cut in half by the axe. The entire scene fell silent. Everyone's eyes were wide open as they stared at the scene in shock. Kong Jin, this first-level spiritual ocean tier martial artist actually killed a late-stage third-level spiritual ocean tier martial artist in one move. How was this possible? It was too unbelievable. Kill! Before anyone could react, Kong Jin had already lifted his battle axe and pounced on the Iron Bones sect like a berserk beast. The attack of his battle axe was as violent as a storm. Set up the formation, set up the formation. Lu Ming did not want to waste it. Fatty, 3 storage rings, 1 for each of us. With that said, Lu Ming threw 1 to Kong Jin and another to Xian Yanqing. He kept 1 for himself. Now, he was in dire need of spiritual crystals and couldn't let it go. The others looked at him with envy. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.